The morning sun cast long shadows through the lawyer's office windows as I sat there, watching my father hand over the deed to my childhood home to a woman he'd known for 6 months. Veronica. With her perfect blowout and designer suit that cost more than most people's rent, she looked exactly like what she was, a predator who'd found the perfect prey in a grieving widower. "Emma doesn't need it," Dad said, not even looking at me as he signed the papers. "She's independent, has her own apartment, good job. This way, Veronica and I can start fresh." I sat in the uncomfortable leather chair, my hands folded in my lap, the weight of my mother's absence pressing down on me like a physical thing. She'd been gone for 8 months. 8 months, and he was already giving away everything she'd loved to a woman who complained about the dated kitchen Mom had spent years perfecting. "It's for the best, sweetie," Veronica added, her voice dripping with false sweetness. The 3-carat diamond on her finger, bigger than anything my father had ever given my mother, caught the light as she reached for the deed. "Your father and I need our own space to build our life together. You understand?" It wasn't a question. I understood perfectly. I understood that my father, Dr. Marcus Webb, respected cardiologist and the man who once cried at my kindergarten graduation, had been completely transformed by this woman. I understood that the house my mother had inherited from her parents, the house where she'd raised me, the house she'd died in, was now being handed over to someone who'd already redecorated it in her mind. "Of course," I said quietly, "I understand." The lawyer, Mr. Morrison, looked uncomfortable as he shuffled the papers. He'd been my mother's lawyer too, had drawn up her will. His eyes met mine briefly, something unreadable flickering there before he looked away. "Well then," Dad said, standing abruptly. "That's settled. Veronica and I have reservations at the club." The club. 6 months ago, he called it that pretentious waste of money. Now he was a member, complete with golf lessons and wine tastings. Veronica's influence was everywhere, remaking him into someone I barely recognized. As they gathered their things, Veronica paused beside my chair. "Oh, Emma, we'll need you to come by this weekend to collect your mother's things. I'm having the house professionally staged, and all that clutter needs to go." Clutter. My mother's books, her art collection, the family photos covering every wall. Clutter. "I'll be there," I managed. She patted my shoulder with manicured nails. "You're taking this so well. I told Marcus you were mature enough to understand. Not like those horrible children you read about who make everything difficult when their parents find happiness again." Happiness. As if my father's vacant stare and the way he flinched whenever someone mentioned Mom was happiness. They left in a flurry of expensive perfume and awkward goodbye hugs. I sat in the lawyer's office for a moment longer, staring at the spot where the deed had been. 27 years of memories signed away in 10 minutes. "Ms. Webb." Mr. Morrison's voice was gentle. "Are you all right?" "Fine," I said, standing. "Just processing." He hesitated. Then, "Your mother was a remarkable woman. She always thought ahead." Something in his tone made me pause. But before I could ask what he meant, his secretary knocked, reminding him of his next appointment. I drove home to my 1-bedroom apartment in a daze. The place was nice enough. Modern kitchen, good neighborhood. The kind of starter home my mom had been so proud to help me find. But it wasn't home. Home was the Victorian on Maple Street with the wraparound porch and the bedroom window that looked out onto Mom's garden. Veronica's garden now. That weekend, I arrived at the house with boxes and bubble wrap, my heart heavy. The front door, painted the soft blue my mother had chosen, was now a stark black. More sophisticated. I could hear Veronica saying. Inside was worse. The walls, once warm cream with family photos, were now bare and painted gray. The furniture was different, sleek, modern pieces that looked like they belonged in a magazine rather than a home. Mom's reading nook by the window was gone, replaced with some sculptural chair no one would ever actually sit in. "Oh good, you're here," Veronica called from the kitchen. She was supervising a team of workers who were tearing out Mom's beloved farmhouse sink. "Your father's at the club. I've put all your mother's things in the guest room. Please have them out by 5. The designer is coming for measurements." I climbed the stairs, each step a memory. Mom teaching me to tie my shoes on the landing, racing Dad to the top when I was 5. Helping Mom up these same stairs in her final weeks when the cancer had stolen her strength but not her smile. The guest room was chaos. Everything that had made this house my mother's was piled carelessly in boxes and bags. Her books thrown together with no care for their condition. Photo albums stacked haphazardly. Her jewelry box, the one Dad gave her for their 10th anniversary, tossed on top of a garbage bag full of clothes. I spent hours carefully packing, treating each item with the reverence Veronica hadn't shown. Mom's first edition Jane Austen's, the quilt her grandmother made, the shoebox full of every card I'd ever made her, each one saved and treasured. Find everything. Veronica appeared in the doorway, impatient. Almost done, I said, wrapping Mom's wedding china, the set she used every Sunday, the set that would never see this dining room again. Good. Oh, and Emma. She held out a manila envelope. These were in the safe. Old documents, probably trash, but I thought you should go through them. Your father didn't want to deal with it. I took the envelope, noting the way she said your father, like he was mine alone to deal with when it came to painful things. It wasn't until I was home, surrounded by boxes of my mother's life, that I opened the envelope. Insurance papers, old tax returns, the deed too. I stopped. There was a deed to the house, but it wasn't the one I'd seen Dad sign over. This one was older, dated 3 years ago, and it showed the house being transferred from my mother's name to mine. My hands shook as I read it again. The house had been put in my name 3 years ago. But that was impossible. Mom had never mentioned it. Neither had Dad. And the lawyer who'd looked so uncomfortable, who'd said Mom always thought ahead. I called Mr. Morrison's office, but it was Saturday. His answering service took a message. Then I did what Mom taught me. When in doubt, research. I went through every paper in that envelope, then started on the boxes of documents from the house. That's when I found it. A safety deposit box key taped inside Mom's diary, along with a sticky note in her handwriting. For Emma, when the time is right, you'll know. The bank was closed until Monday. I spent the weekend alternating between staring at that key and rereading the deed. How was it possible? Had Dad known? Had he deliberately signed over a house that wasn't his to give? Monday morning, I was at the bank when it opened. The safety deposit box was registered in my name, had been for 3 years. Inside were more documents, a letter, and a USB drive. I sat in the private viewing room and opened Mom's letter with trembling hands. Asterisk, my dearest Emma, asterisk. Asterisk, if you're reading this, then I'm gone and certain things have likely come to pass. Please know that everything I've done has been to protect you and protect what our family built together, asterisk. Asterisk, 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. I didn't tell you or your father because I didn't want to worry you, and the prognosis was good. During that time, I met another patient, a young woman whose family had lost everything when her father remarried after her mother's death. It opened my eyes to possibilities I didn't want to consider, asterisk. Asterisk, I love your father, Emma, but I'm not blind to his weaknesses. He's a good man, but not always a strong one. He can be influenced, especially when he's grieving. So I took precautions, asterisk. Asterisk, the house has been in your name for 3 years. There's also a second mortgage in your name with me as guarantor. The payments have been automatically deducted from an account I set up. That account is now yours. The mortgage was never about needing money. It was about creating a legal claim that would supersede any other, asterisk. Asterisk, if your father has remarried quickly, if he's tried to give away our family home, know this. It was never his to give. The bank will be contacting whoever thinks they own the house about the mortgage. They'll have to deal with you, asterisk. Asterisk, the USB contains video statements from me, properly witnessed, explaining everything. Mr. Morrison has copies of all documents, asterisk. Asterisk, I know this seems calculating, but I've seen too many women's legacies erased by new wives who want to pretend the first family never existed. Our home is your heritage, your children's heritage. Don't let anyone take that from you, asterisk. Asterisk, remember, my darling girl, being kind doesn't mean being weak. Stand firm, asterisk. Asterisk, all my love, Mom, asterisk. I read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down my face. Even in death, she was protecting me. Even sick, she'd been thinking ahead, planning, ensuring that what mattered would survive. The USB contained exactly what she promised. Video statements, clearly dated, showing her of sound mind as she explained the property transfer, the mortgage, everything. She looked thin in the videos, tired, but her eyes were sharp and clear. I was still processing when my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Emma, this is Robert Chen from Pinnacle Bank. I'm calling regarding the property at 42 Maple Street. We've been notified of an ownership change, but there's a significant mortgage in your name on the property. We'll need to speak with you and the new owners about this situation." "Of course," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "When would you like to meet?" "As soon as possible." The current residents were quite upset when we contacted them. They seemed to have been unaware of the existing mortgage. I'll bet they were. I agreed to meet him that afternoon, then called Mr. Morrison. This time he answered personally. "Emma, I've been expecting your call. You knew about the house, the mortgage, everything." "I did. Your mother was very specific about when and how you should be informed." I must admit, I was relieved when we found the documents. The situation at the signing was uncomfortable. "Does my father know? Did he know when he signed it over?" A pause. "I cannot say what your father knows. I can say that all proper searches should have revealed the mortgage. If they didn't do their due diligence, that's on them," I finished. "Precisely." I met with the bank that afternoon. Robert Chen was professional but clearly enjoying the drama. "The mortgage has a balance of $450,000, he explained. "It's been paid faithfully, but the new owners would need to either assume the mortgage or pay it off to clear the title, since it's in your name." "They can't do either without my agreement," I said. "Correct, and frankly, given that the property was transferred to you 3 years ago, their claim to ownership is questionable at best." "What are our next steps?" "I'll need to meet with all parties. The bank's position is clear. You are our mortgage holder, and according to our records, the property owner. Their deed appears to be invalid." That evening, my phone exploded. 17 missed calls from Dad. 23 from Veronica. I let them all go to voicemail until finally, a text came through. "Emma, what have you done? The bank says the house has a mortgage in your name. Veronica is threatening to sue. Call me immediately." "Dad." I texted back. "I haven't done anything. Mom did. The house has been mine for 3 years. Your lawyer should have caught that." The phone rang instantly. "Emma Marie Webb, you explain this right now." Dad's voice was angrier than I'd ever heard it. "There's nothing to explain. Mom transferred the house to me 3 years ago. There's a mortgage in my name. You gave Veronica a deed to property you didn't own. That's impossible. The house was in the trust." "No, Dad, you assumed it was. Did you ever actually check? Or did you just let Veronica handle everything?" Silence. Then, "This is your mother's doing. She had no right." "She had every right. It was her family home. And she knew." I stopped, took a breath. "She knew you need protecting from yourself." "How dare you?" "Dad, I have videos. Mom explaining everything, including her concerns about you remarrying quickly and being influenced to give away my inheritance. Do you really want to discuss who had the right to do what?" He hung up. The next morning, I met with Dad, Veronica, their lawyer, Mr. Chen from the bank, and Mr. Morrison at the bank's conference room. Veronica looked like she aged 10 years overnight. Dad wouldn't meet my eyes. Their lawyer, a shark in a suit who'd clearly been hired by Veronica, started aggressively. "This is clearly fraud. A sick woman transferring property to keep it from her husband." My client's mother was of sound mind. Mr. Morrison interrupted smoothly. "I have extensive documentation, including medical records and video testimony. The transfer was completely legal. And the mortgage," the shark demanded, "has been paid faithfully for 3 years from accounts set up by Mrs. Webb. No fraud, no deception. Just a woman ensuring her daughter's inheritance remained intact." I pulled out my laptop. "Would you like to see the videos?" Mom was very thorough. "This is ridiculous," Veronica exploded. "Marcus, do something." But Dad was staring at the bank's documents, seeing the dates, the signatures, the careful planning. "You knew," he said quietly, looking at me. "At the lawyer's office, you knew." "No," I said honestly. "I found out that weekend, going through Mom's papers. The papers Veronica thought were trash." Veronica's face went red. "This is entrapment. You set us up." "I sat quietly while you took everything," I said. "If that's entrapment, then what do you call manipulating a grieving widower into giving away his late wife's family home?" "How dare you?" "Enough," Dad said quietly. He looked exhausted, older. For the first time since Mom died, he looked like he was actually feeling the loss. "Emma, what do you want?" "I want my mother's house. The house she grew up in, the house she raised me in. The house she made sure would stay in our family. And the mortgage will continue to be paid from the account Mom set up. When it's paid off, the house will be fully mine, as she intended. Veronica turned on Dad. You're just going to let her do this? That house is worth over $1 million. It's ours. It was never ours, Dad said quietly. I see that now. Then I'll sue. You'll do nothing, Mr. Morrison said calmly, unless you'd like us to pursue charges for attempted fraud. You did, after all, accept a deed for property that wasn't the grantor's to give. A thorough title search would have revealed that. Veronica's lawyer whispered urgently in her ear. Her face cycled through several shades of red before settling on a furious purple. Fine, she spat. But I want every penny we put into renovations. You mean the renovations you did to a house you didn't own? I asked. I don't think so. Consider it a lesson in due diligence. She stormed out, her lawyer trailing behind. Dad started to follow, then stopped. Emma. Go, Dad. Your wife needs you. He flinched at the emphasis. She's not. I mean she is, but, he trailed off, looking lost. Your mother really did this. She did. She knew you'd be vulnerable, knew someone might take advantage, so she protected what mattered. She always was smarter than me, he said softly. She loved you, I said. But she loved me too. And she knew that sometimes love means protecting people from their own worst impulses. He left without another word. A week later, I stood in my house, surveying the damage. Veronica's improvements had stripped away so much character, but bones remained. Mom's garden was overgrown but salvageable. The kitchen would need to be restored. The walls were painted. But it was mine. I found a contractor who specialized in historical restorations. I want it back the way it was, I told him, showing him photos from before. Every detail. It took 6 months. 6 months of Dad's awkward phone calls that I didn't answer. 6 months of hearing through family that Veronica had left him when she realized he was broke. He wasn't. He just wasn't as wealthy as she thought without Mom's family money. 6 months of rebuilding what had been carelessly destroyed. The day I moved back in, I found a package on the porch. No return address, but I recognized Dad's handwriting. Inside was Mom's jewelry box, the one Veronica had tossed aside, and a note. She would be proud of you. I'm sorry I let you down. Dad. I set the jewelry box on Mom's dresser, my dresser now, and opened it. Everything was there, including her wedding rings. Under the rings was a photo I'd never seen before. Mom and me in the garden, planting roses. On the back, in her handwriting, teaching Emma to grow strong roots. I stood in my mother's house, my house, and finally let myself cry. Not from sadness, but from gratitude. Even in death, she'd been my protector, my champion, my guide. The doorbell rang. My best friend Sarah stood on the porch with a bottle of champagne and a huge smile, ready to celebrate. Yeah, I said, wiping my eyes. I think Mom would approve. To strong women, Sarah said, raising her glass once we poured the champagne. To mothers to think ahead, I countered. To knowing when to be kind and when to be strong. To Mom, I said quietly, and we drank. Outside, the sun set over the garden where new roses were beginning to bloom. The house settled around me, familiar and safe. Somewhere, I knew, Mom was smiling. The house was home again. And this time, no one could take it away.
The check sat on the mahogany table between us, its crisp edges mocking everything I thought I knew about love. $10,000. That's what they thought it would take to make me disappear. I'm Laura, and this was supposed to be my engagement celebration dinner. Instead, I was sitting across from my future mother-in-law, ex-future mother-in-law, as she explained in her perfectly measured voice why I wasn't suitable for her son. It's nothing personal, Eliana said, sliding the check closer to me. We simply believe Isaac needs someone more, aligned with our family's status. I'm sure you understand. I looked at Isaac, the man I'd loved for 2 years, the man who'd promised me forever. He wouldn't meet my eyes. His father, Reed, sat beside him, stone-faced and silent, like this was just another business transaction. So, I said, my voice steadier than I felt, you're buying me off? We're offering you an opportunity, Eliana corrected, her red lips curving into what might have been meant as a smile. Along with this generous compensation, we have an NDA prepared. Sign both, and we can all move forward amicably. The restaurant's private dining room suddenly felt too small, too warm. A waiter approached with wine, but Eliana waved him away before he could reach our table. "Isaac," I whispered, "do you have anything to say?" He finally looked up, his face pale. "Laura, my family—" "Your family what?" I pressed, my hands clenching under the table. "My family is right," he finished weakly. "We're from different worlds. Different worlds. Right. Because I grew up in a 3-bedroom ranch house instead of a mansion, because my mother worked double shifts as a nurse while his mother organized charity galas." Eliana pulled out a thick envelope. "The NDA is quite straightforward. You'll agree not to contact Isaac or any member of our family, not to discuss this arrangement, and to relocate to a different city within 3 months." My eyes burned, but I refused to cry. Not here. Not in front of them. "And if I don't sign?" Reed spoke for the first time, his voice cold. "Then we'll ensure every tech company in the state knows not to hire you. Our reach is considerable." I thought about my mother, who'd worked herself to exhaustion to put me through college, who'd taught me that dignity wasn't about money, but about how you carried yourself when people tried to take it from you. "Can I read the NDA?" I asked. Eliana's smile widened as she passed me the envelope. I took out the document, scanning its pages carefully. My hands weren't shaking anymore. Something else was building inside me. Something hard and sharp and certain. I picked up the pen Eliana offered and signed my name. Then I reached for the check, folding it carefully before tucking it into my purse. "A wise decision," Eliana said, gathering the NDA. "I trust you'll honor our agreement." I stood up slowly, smoothing my dress, the one I'd bought specially for this dinner, back when I thought it was a celebration. "Oh, I'll honor it. But let me tell you something, Eliana." I leaned forward, placing my palms flat on the table. "You just made the worst investment of your life." Her perfectly plucked eyebrows rose slightly. "Is that a threat?" "No," I smiled. "It's a promise." I walked out of that restaurant with my head high, past the maitre d' who'd fawned over the whole family name, past the valet who'd sneered at my secondhand car. Once inside my Honda, I pulled out my phone and dialed. "June? It's me. Remember that startup idea we talked about last month? We're doing it. Tonight." "What? Laura, it's 9 p.m. What happened?" I looked back at the restaurant where Isaac and his parents were probably already ordering their entrees, probably already forgetting about the girl they'd just paid to disappear. "I'll tell you everything, but right now I need you to meet me at that 24-hour diner near your place. Bring your laptop." I started my car, the engine humming to life. "We're going to build something that's going to make the halls wish they'd never heard my name." "Laura, you're scaring me a little." "Good," I said, pulling out onto the street, "because by the time I'm done, they're going to be terrified." I ended the call and drove into the night, $10,000 of seed money in my purse and 3 years of tech experience in my head. They thought they were buying my silence. Instead, they'd just funded their own destruction. "You were 12 when you built your first computer?" June asked, her fingers pausing over her keyboard. We'd been at this diner for 3 hours, empty coffee cups littering our table. "Built is generous. I salvaged parts from the recycling center where my mom's boyfriend worked." I smiled, remembering. Mom thought I was crazy, dragging home all those broken pieces. But when I got that thing running— "And now you want to build something that'll make the halls regret ever meeting you?" I pulled up the prototype designs on my laptop. "Look at this. Every venture capital firm, including Hall Capital, uses outdated analytics systems. They're slow, clunky, and terrible at predicting market trends." June leaned forward, her eyes scanning the screen. "And you think we can do better?" "I know we can. Remember that algorithm I developed for my senior project? The one that could predict startup success rates? The one that got you hired at TechFront straight out of college? I nodded, pulling up more files. I've been refining it for the past 2 years. It's not just about success rates anymore. It can track investor patterns, market fluctuations, even social media sentiment, everything a modern VC firm needs. My phone buzzed. Isaac's name flashed on the screen, the third time tonight. I declined the call. He's trying to reach you? June asked, probably feeling guilty. Too little, too late. I turned my phone face down. The NDA doesn't start until tomorrow, but I don't have anything to say to him. The waitress came by with fresh coffee. June waited until she left before speaking. Laura, I'm with you on this. But are you sure you want to build an entire company on revenge? I pulled out the check from my purse, smoothing its creased edges. See this? Eliana thought this would crush me, make me disappear. But you know what I see? What? Seed money. We can rent a small office space, buy the equipment we need, and still have enough left for 3 months of runway. By then, we'll have a working prototype. June's expression shifted from concern to excitement. You really think we can pull this off? Remember when we were kids? When my mom couldn't afford internet, and I'd walk 2 miles to the library every day just to use their computers? June smiled. You taught yourself coding from YouTube videos. While the librarian kept trying to make me read Nancy Drew instead, I laughed, but it came out hollow. My whole life, people like the Halls have been telling me what I can't do, where I don't belong. Tonight, Eliana looked at me like I was dirt on her shoes. But you know what? What? She forgot to look at my brain. June's phone pinged. She glanced at it, then sat up straighter. Laura, you need to see this. She turned her phone around. It was an internal memo from Hall Capital, marked confidential. How did you get this? Remember Mark from college? He's a junior analyst there now. He says they're worried about new AI-backed platforms disrupting their business model. They're especially concerned about losing their smaller clients to more agile competitors. My heart raced. That's our way in. We target their smaller clients first, prove our system works better, and slowly eat away at their market share. June finished. But Laura, we'll need more than just good tech. We'll need connections, marketing, a solid business plan. I opened a new document and started typing. Then let's make one right now. For the next 2 hours, we mapped out everything. Development timeline, marketing strategy, potential clients. The sun was rising when we finally left the diner, our plans taking shape. In my car, I found 3 more missed calls from Isaac and a text. Please let me explain. What my parents did was wrong. I typed back a single message. You sat there and let them do it. That's all I need to know. Then I blocked his number. At home, I walked past the boxes of Isaac's things I'd planned to move into our new apartment, past the wedding magazines on my coffee table. I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. My phone rang again, unknown number this time. Probably Isaac using someone else's phone. I ignored it and started coding instead, letting the familiar rhythm of keystrokes wash away everything else. June was right. Building a company on revenge wasn't ideal. But sometimes the darkest motivations create the brightest innovations. The Halls thought they were paying me to disappear into obscurity. Instead, they were funding their own nightmare. My laptop pinged. An email from June. Found something interesting. Hall Capital's biggest client is getting nervous about their outdated systems. Meeting tomorrow? I smiled as I typed my response. Tomorrow. Let's make them sweat. The sun was fully up now, marking my first day as a startup founder. And somewhere across town, in their mansion on the hill, the Halls had no idea what was coming. Your platform detected a market shift 3 weeks before our current system? The CEO of StartRight Ventures leaned back in his chair, clearly impressed. And the accuracy rate is 92%, I finished, trying to keep my voice steady. This was our 4th demo in 2 weeks, but the first with a company this size. We can set up a trial period if you'd like to compare it directly with your current analytics provider. June pulled up another screen. As you can see, Cleargram also offers real-time social sentiment analysis, which your current provider, Hall Analytics, doesn't support yet. I watched the CEO's face carefully. He didn't know that 6 months ago, I was signing an NDA in a fancy restaurant. Didn't know that the sleek platform impressing him now was built in a tiny office with second-hand furniture and determination fueled by humiliation. Impressive, he said finally. But you're a new company, no track record. Why should we trust you over an established name like Hall? Before I could answer, the door opened and a man in an expensive suit walked in. Ryder Mitchell, one of the most successful venture capitalists in the city. My heart stopped. Because sometimes new blood is exactly what we need, Ryder said, sitting down without invitation. I've been watching Cleargram's development. Their tech is solid. The CEO straightened. You're interested in them, Ryder? Very. In fact, I'm considering a significant investment. Ryder turned to me. Though I'd love to know more about the founder behind this innovation. I kept my face neutral. The technology speaks for itself, Mr. Mitchell. Please, call me Ryder. He smiled, but his eyes were calculating. Interesting that you've managed to stay so anonymous in such a chatty industry. June jumped in smoothly. We believe in letting our results do the talking. Speaking of which, should we show you the predictive modeling feature? The demo continued, but I could feel Ryder watching me. He had connections to Hall Capital, if he figured out who I was. An hour later, StartRight's CEO was signing a contract, our biggest client yet. In the elevator afterward, June grabbed my arm. Laura, we did it, but Ryder Mitchell, that was unexpected. And dangerous, I muttered. He's friends with Reed Hall. But if he's genuinely interested in investing, we need to be careful. One wrong move and my phone buzzed. Unknown number again. I'd been getting these calls regularly for months. June frowned. Still Isaac? Probably. Let's focus on what matters. With StartRight signed, other firms will notice. We need to... Ms. Laura? Ryder's voice cut through the lobby. He was walking toward us, that same calculating smile in place. Do you have a moment? June squeezed my arm and headed out, leaving me alone with him. Remarkable technology you've developed, he said, almost like you knew exactly what Hall Capital's weaknesses were. My pulse quickened. Good market research. Indeed. He pulled out his phone, showing me a news article from 6 months ago, a society page photo of Isaac and me at a charity gala. Very good research. The floor seemed to tilt. Mr. Mitchell, relax. I'm not here to expose you. He pocketed his phone. I'm here because I recognize potential when I see it, and revenge, when properly channeled, can be an excellent motivator. I don't know what you're talking about. No? He laughed softly. Then let me be clear. I want to invest in Cleargram, significantly. And before you worry, I have no love for the Halls. Reed killed a deal I'd worked months on last year. Let's just say I understand the desire for strategic retaliation. I studied him carefully. Why should I trust you? Because I can help you hurt them where it really counts, their client base. He handed me a card. Think about it. Call me when you're ready to take this to the next level. He walked away, leaving me holding his card and feeling like I'd just met either a powerful ally or a dangerous enemy. My phone buzzed again. This time it was June. Just saw the news. Hall Capital is trying to acquire Microtech, one of our target clients. I looked at Ryder's card, then at the message. If Hall Capital got Microtech, they'd block us out of a huge market segment. We needed to move faster. I dialed Ryder's number. He answered on the first ring. That was quick, he said. I'm not saying yes yet, but I'm willing to talk. Perfect. Dinner tomorrow? I know a quiet place where we won't run into any mutual acquaintances. I agreed and hung up, watching the city lights flicker on outside. 6 months ago, I'd walked out of a restaurant with nothing but a check and a broken heart. Now I was walking into another restaurant with a growing company and a dangerous proposition. The difference? This time, I was the one making the rules. "Get down," June hissed, yanking me behind a potted plant in the hotel lobby. Through the leaves, I watched Eliana Hall glide past in her signature red-soled heels, heading toward the restaurant where I was supposed to be meeting a potential client. "How is she here?" I whispered. This meeting wasn't public knowledge. Someone must have tipped her off. June pulled out her phone. "I'll call Mr. Patterson. Tell him we need to reschedule." My hands were shaking. 6 months of carefully avoiding the holes, of building cleargram behind a shield of privacy, and now Eliana was feet away from discovering everything. "Ladies," Ryder's voice made us both jump. He stood behind us, looking amused. "While I appreciate a good game of hide and seek, perhaps we should move this somewhere else." He led us through a service corridor to the parking garage. Once inside his car, he turned to me. "Eliana's not here by accident. Hall Capital's board meeting is upstairs. But this does prove what I've been saying. You need better protection." "What kind of protection?" June asked. "The kind that comes with having a major VC firm behind you." Ryder handed me a folder. "My official investment offer, enough to triple your development speed and hire a proper legal team." I opened the folder, then nearly dropped it. "This is 20 million, he finished, for 25% of Cleargram." June leaned over to look. "That's actually a fair valuation considering our growth rate." "But there's a catch," I said, meeting Ryder's eyes. "Isn't there?" He smiled. "Smart girl. Yes, I want to know everything. Who you really are, why the Halls paid you off, all of it. No more secrets." My phone buzzed. A text from Mr. Patterson. "Meeting canceled. Hall Capital just offered us a better deal." "Damn it," I showed the message to June. "They're moving faster." "Not just there," June said, pulling up her laptop. "Look at this. A Hall subsidiary has been quietly buying up patents in our space. They're trying to box us in legally." Ryder leaned forward. "I can help with that. My firm has connections that could get us ahead of their patent grab. But I need to know what I'm really investing in, or rather, who." I stared at the folder in my hands. The numbers were life-changing, but telling Ryder everything meant trusting someone again, something I hadn't done since that night at the restaurant. "If I tell you," I said slowly, "it stays between us. June already knows, but no one else can." "Of course." I took a deep breath. 2 years ago, I met Isaac Hall at a tech conference. For the next hour, I told him everything. The whirlwind romance, the engagement, the humiliation, the check that started it all. Ryder listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker. "Those patents they're buying," he said when I finished. "I know which ones you need. Give me 2 days." "How?" "Let's just say Eliana isn't the only one with connections." He started the car. "But Laura, watch your back. If they're making moves this aggressive, they must suspect something." Back at our office, June was unusually quiet. "What is it?" I asked. She turned her monitor around. "Remember that analytics system Hall Capital launched last month? The one suspiciously similar to our early prototype?" "Yeah?" "I traced the development team. One of them used to work at TechFront when you were there." My stomach dropped. "They've been watching me this whole time." "Probably, but that's not all." She pulled up an email. "This came while we were out, from a journalist named Chelsea Newton. She says..." June paused. "She says she's your sister." "I don't have a sister." "Half-sister, according to her. And she knows about the Halls. Says she wants to tell your story." I collapsed into my chair. "A sister? And she knew about the Halls? It had to be a trap." My phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. But this time, when I looked at the message, my blood froze. "Laura, this is Eliana. Impressive work with Cleargram. Perhaps we should discuss a potential collaboration for old time's sake. June read the message over my shoulder. They know. No, I said, standing up. They suspect, but they don't have proof. Not yet. I picked up Ryder's folder. Call him. Tell him we accept the investment, but I want those patents secured first. And the journalist? Your supposed sister? I stared at Chelsea's email, my finger hovering over the delete button, but something stopped me. Forward it to my personal email. I want to look into this more. June nodded, then suddenly grabbed my arm. Laura, look. On her screen was a breaking news alert. Hall Capital announces revolutionary AI platform launch next month. They weren't just trying to box us in. They were trying to beat us to market. The game was changing, and I needed to change with it. The woman sitting across from me at the coffee shop had our father's eyes. It was like looking at a piece of my own reflection, but twisted into someone else's face. So, Chelsea said, stirring her untouched latte, you really had no idea about me? Dad left when I was 3. Mom never talked about him. I studied her carefully. How did you find me? I'm a journalist. It's what I do. She pulled out a folder. But more importantly, I found these. Inside were photos of Eliana and Reed Hall at various social events over the years. In several, they were with my father, looking much older than I remembered him. He's been working with Hall Capital for 15 years, Chelsea explained. That's how I connected the dots when I heard about their newest rival, a mysterious startup founder they paid to disappear. My coffee turned bitter in my mouth. Does he know about what they did to me? No, but he might be useful. He handles their private investment portfolio. I don't want anything to do with him. Laura, Chelsea leaned forward, think about it. He has access to their entire investment strategy. If he knew what they did to his daughter. Which daughter? I cut in. The one he stayed with or the one he abandoned? Chelsea flinched. Fair point, but I'm not here just because of him. I want to tell your story. A self-made woman taking on one of the biggest investment firms in the country. It's compelling. It's also covered by an NDA. NDAs don't hold up when there's evidence of corporate sabotage. She pulled out more documents. Like Hall Capital stealing your early designs through a former co-worker, or them threatening potential clients to keep them from working with you. My phone buzzed. June's special ringtone. Excuse me, I said, stepping away from the table. Laura, June's voice was urgent. Hall Capital just announced their platform launch date. It's next week, not next month. What? That's impossible. Their development timeline? They must have fast-tracked it. They're going after our biggest clients first. I looked back at Chelsea, still sitting with her evidence spread out. I'll call you back. Returning to the table, I found Chelsea studying me. Bad news? Why should I trust you? I asked instead of answering. You show up out of nowhere, claiming to be family with all this convenient information. Because I hate them too. Her voice hardened. Dad might work for them, but they made sure the illegitimate daughter never got near their precious social circle. Sound familiar? My phone buzzed again. Ryder this time. I ignored it. If I let you tell my story, I said slowly, what's your angle? The truth. How the Halls use money and influence to crush anyone they see as beneath them. How you're building something that could change the whole industry, not because of connections or privilege, but because you're actually brilliant at what you do. Another buzz. A text from June. Ryder says it's urgent. Hall Capital is making moves. I need time to think, I told Chelsea. Time might be something you don't have. She gathered her documents. They're moving faster now, aren't they? Let me help. Before they bury you completely. As if on cue, my phone lit up with a news alert. Hall Capital announces revolutionary partnership with major tech firms. Fine, I said, but we do this my way. No mention of Dad, no family drama. Focus on the business angle. Deal. Chelsea stood up. One more thing. Watch out for Ryder Mitchell. His history with the Halls is complicated. I froze. What do you mean? Let's just say he's played both sides before. Be careful who you trust, sister. She left me with a business card and a head full of questions. Back at the office, June and Ryder were waiting. Where have you been? Ryder demanded. Whole Capital is making their move. They're launching next week, and they've already signed 3 major partnerships. I know. Do you? Because while you were off doing whatever, they've been positioning themselves to crush Cleargram before we can respond. Laura, June interrupted, there's something else. The patents Ryder secured for us, Whole Capital is challenging them. They're claiming prior art. I sank into my chair, Chelsea's warnings about Ryder echoing in my head. How did they know which patents to challenge? What are you implying? Ryder asked sharply. Nothing, yet. I pulled up our project timeline. June, push our launch date up. We're going live before they do. That's impossible, Ryder protested. The system isn't ready. It will be. I met his eyes. Unless you have a reason we shouldn't. The tension crackled between us until June cleared her throat. Laura? You should see this email. It was from Eliana, sent to all major tech newsletters. Whole Capital welcomes competition, questions origins of rival software. They weren't just trying to beat us to market, they were coming for my reputation. The war was starting, and I still didn't know who my real allies were. You can't seriously trust him, June whispered, glancing at Ryder across our war room. 3 days had passed since Whole Capital's announcement, and we'd barely left the office. I don't, I murmured back. But right now, we need him. Ryder was on the phone, working his network. Whatever Chelsea's warnings meant, he'd spent the last 72 hours proving his value. Already, he'd secured meetings with 5 major clients who were having doubts about Whole Capital's rushed launch. Got it, Ryder said, ending his call. Microtech is willing to meet. They're nervous about Hall's new platform. Apparently, the beta testing isn't going well. I pulled up our launch timeline. When? Tomorrow morning. Their CEO specifically asked for you to be there. June shot me a warning look. That's cutting it close to our launch. It's worth the risk, I said. Microtech is exactly the kind of client Whole Capital can't afford to lose. My phone lit up with a text from Chelsea. Stories ready. Publishing tomorrow morning before markets open. Last chance to back out. I showed it to June, who frowned. The timing is perfect, Ryder cut in, reading over my shoulder. Microtech's CEO will have seen the article before our meeting. It adds pressure. Or it spooks them completely, June argued. No, I said, making my decision. We move forward. Text Chelsea back. Do it. The next hours were a blur of preparation. Our team worked through the night, fine-tuning our platform for launch, while I rehearsed my presentation for Microtech. At 6 a.m., Chelsea's article dropped. The woman they tried to pay off, how tech's biggest dynasty created their own worst enemy. By 7 a.m., my phone was exploding with notifications. The story was spreading like wildfire through tech circles. Laura, June called from her desk. Whole Capital stock just dropped 3 points in pre-market trading. Ryder walked in, looking pleased. Microtech's CEO just confirmed he's bringing their whole board to the meeting. They're spooked by the article. Good, I said, but my hands were shaking as I gathered my presentation materials. The elevator ride to Microtech's offices felt endless. June squeezed my arm. You've got this. The boardroom was packed when we entered. Microtech's CEO, David, stood to greet us. Quite a morning, he said, gesturing to a tablet showing Chelsea's article. We had no idea about your history with Whole Capital. I prefer to let our technology speak for itself, I replied smoothly. Shall we begin? Halfway through my presentation, the door burst open. Isaac walked in. My heart stopped. He looked older, tired, wearing the same kind of expensive suit his father favored. I apologize for interrupting, he said to the room, but his eyes were on me. But as Whole Capital's new head of client relations, I felt I should be here. June started to protest, but I held up my hand. No problem at all. In fact, your timing is perfect. I clicked to the next slide. I was just about to demonstrate how our system outperforms Whole Capital's current analytics by 43%. Isaac's face tightened. Our new platform is 3 months behind schedule based on our analysis, I cut in. And from what I hear, the beta testing isn't going well. Would you like to comment on that? The board members shifted uncomfortably. Isaac loosened his tie. Laura, he said softly, can we talk privately? Everything I have to say can be said right here. I turned back to the board. Your company has a choice to make. Stay with an outdated system backed by a legacy name or partner with the future. David leaned forward. Show us the comparison data again. For the next hour, I methodically took apart every advantage Whole Capital claimed to have. Isaac sat silently, watching me destroy his family's reputation with cold, hard facts. When we finished, David stood up. We'll need to discuss internally, but... He glanced at Isaac apologetically. I think we're ready for a change. Outside the boardroom, Isaac tried to catch my arm. Laura, please. Don't, I said, my voice ice. You had your chance to speak up. You chose silence. My family is about to learn what it feels like to lose something they value. I smiled, the same smile his mother had given me that night. How's Eliana handling the stock drop? He flinched. This isn't you. The Laura I knew died the night your mother wrote that check. I walked away, June and Ryder flanking me. In the elevator, Ryder checked his phone. 3 more clients want meetings. The article is doing exactly what we hoped. Laura, June said quietly. Whole Capital's stock is down 12% now. I thought of Isaac's face, of Eliana's smug smile the night she tried to buy my disappearance. Good, let it burn. The elevator doors opened to a lobby full of reporters. The war had gone public, and I was finally ready to step into the spotlight. The private dining room at LeBlanc felt hauntingly familiar. Different restaurant, same scene, except this time Eliana was the one trying to salvage a situation spinning out of control. Laura, she said, her smile as artificial as ever. You've certainly made quite a name for yourself. That's funny, I replied, considering you paid me to disappear. She flinched slightly but recovered quickly. Ancient history. We clearly underestimated your potential. Perhaps we can discuss a more mutually beneficial arrangement? Like what? A merger. Whole Capital could acquire Cleargram for a very generous sum. You'd have a seat on our board, of course. I took a sip of water, letting her squirm. 2 weeks had passed since Chelsea's article. Whole Capital's stock had dropped 20%, and they'd lost 6 major clients to us. That's an interesting offer, I said finally, especially considering your legal team is still trying to challenge our patents. A misunderstanding, easily resolved. Like how you misunderstood my worth when you handed me that check. The door opened and Reed walked in, followed by Isaac. My heart jumped, but I kept my face neutral. Laura. Reed nodded, sitting beside his wife. You've built something impressive. Dad? Isaac started, but Reed silenced him with a look. We're prepared to offer $50 million, Reed continued, plus a guaranteed executive position. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and slid it across the table. See that number? That's what Cleargram is worth now, and that's just the beginning. Eliana's eyes widened at the figure. Surely we can negotiate. No, I cut her off. We can't, because in exactly 1 hour, I'm giving a keynote speech at the Tech Innovation Summit. Would you like to know what I'm announcing? The color drained from Reed's face. The Morrison contract. Among other things. I stood up. You should watch the live stream. It'll be quite educational. Laura, wait, Isaac called as I reached the door. Please don't do this. I turned back. You know what's funny? That check your mother gave me? I invested every penny of it in starting Cleargram. So in a way, you funded your own destruction. The tech summit was packed. June stood backstage with me, reviewing last-minute details. Riders in position? I asked. Front row. The press is primed, investors are salivating, and she checked her phone. Hall Capital's stock is already dipping on rumors about the Morrison announcement. I adjusted my microphone. Any sign of the Halls? Reed and Eliana just arrived, Isaac too. Perfect. The lights dimmed, and I walked onto the stage to thunderous applause. Spotlights found me as I reached the podium. 3 years ago, I began, I learned a painful lesson about power, about how old money and established names can make you feel worthless. I found Eliana's face in the crowd, but they forgot something important. True power isn't inherited, it's built. The screens behind me lit up with Cleargram's latest analytics dashboard. Today, I'm announcing 3 things. First, our partnership with Morrison Global, making Cleargram the exclusive analytics provider for their $2 trillion in managed assets. Gasps rippled through the audience. Morrison had been Hall Capital's biggest client for 20 years. Second, our new AI-driven investment platform, which has tested 200% more accurate than any competitor's system. I clicked to the next slide, showing comparison data. In the front row, Ryder was smiling like a shark. And finally, I paused, finding Isaac's eyes in the crowd. I'm announcing that Cleargram will be offering free analytics services to any startup founded by individuals from disadvantaged backgrounds, because talent doesn't belong to any one class or family name. The applause was deafening. In the back, I saw Reed and Eliana leaving hurriedly, their faces ashen. One last thing, I added. Success is the best revenge, but karma... I smiled directly at Isaac. Karma is watching your mother's $10,000 investment turn into your family's biggest nightmare. The crowd erupted. Phones flashed. Tomorrow's headlines were writing themselves. Backstage, June hugged me tight. That was brilliant, but brutal. They earned it. I checked my phone. Hall Capital's stock had dropped another 15% during my speech. Ryder appeared, grinning. Reed just resigned as CEO. Board forced him out. Eliana's charity board is next. Laura, June said softly, Isaac's outside. He wants to talk. I thought about the girl I'd been, so in love, so naive. Tell him he had his chance to talk, 3 years ago, in a different restaurant. My phone buzzed. Chelsea. Story's already viral. Want to do a follow-up interview? I typed back, not yet. Let them burn for a while. The revenge I'd dreamed of was complete, so why didn't I feel as satisfied as I'd imagined? The email from Isaac sat unopened in my inbox as I watched the sunset from my office. The city lights were coming alive, each one representing a story, a struggle, a triumph. Mine was just one of them. Still here? June walked in, carrying 2 cups of coffee. The celebration party started an hour ago. Just thinking, I gestured to my screen. Isaac sent an email. And? Haven't opened it yet. I took the coffee. Did you see the latest numbers? Hard to miss. Hall Capital's board is restructuring the entire company. Reed's resignation sparked a mass exodus. June sat down. We won, Laura, completely. Then why doesn't it feel like winning? My phone buzzed, Ryder calling. I let it go to voicemail. Because revenge is empty, a voice said from the doorway. Chelsea stood there, notepad in hand. Trust me, I know. How did you get up here? Your security knows me, she walked in, sitting across from me. I came to show you something. She pulled out an old photograph. A man holding 2 babies, one in each arm. Dad took this the day I was born, Chelsea said. You were 3. It's the only picture I have of us together. I stared at the photo, at the father I barely remembered holding the sister I never knew I had. He was a coward, Chelsea continued, running between 2 families, then choosing the one that offered better connections. But his weakness doesn't define us. June touched my arm. "Open the email, Laura." With trembling fingers, I clicked. "Laura, I've spent 3 years being a coward, just like my father. The night my mother tried to buy you off, I sat silent, watching her destroy something beautiful because of her own prejudices. I lost the best person I've ever known because I was too weak to stand up to my family. You've proven them all wrong, not just about your abilities, but about everything they believed about class and worth. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm writing to say you were right about all of it. I've resigned from Hall Capital, not because I had to, but because I finally found the courage to choose what's right over what's expected." Isaac. "Wow," June whispered. My phone buzzed again. Ryder. This time I answered. "Laura, I need to tell you something." His voice was urgent. "I'm buying controlling shares in Hall Capital." "What?" "The stock price crash made them vulnerable. With Reed gone, I can take over. But I want to do something different. Partner with Cleogram, create a fund specifically for underprivileged entrepreneurs." I thought about Eliana's face when she'd offered me that check, about how power works. "No," I said. "No. I don't want to take over Hall Capital. I want to build something new, something that was never tainted by their legacy." Chelsea was scribbling in her notepad. "Now that's a headline." "What are you writing?" I asked. "The real story, not about revenge, but about redemption, about two sisters who found each other because of shared pain, but built something stronger than bitterness." June was grinning. "She's right. This isn't about destroying the Halls anymore. It's about building something they could never imagine." I looked at the photo again, two babies who never got the chance to be sisters. Then at June, who'd believed in me when I had nothing but rage and a check. At Chelsea, who turned her pain into purpose. "Okay," I said, "let's write a new story." I opened a reply to Isaac. "You're right. You don't deserve forgiveness yet. But courage, even late, counts for something. If you're serious about changing things, there's a position open at our new entrepreneurship foundation. No family connections, no privileges, just hard work and merit. Your choice. Laura." "The party's still going," June reminded me. "Your entire team is waiting to celebrate with their founder." "Our team," I corrected her. "Chelsea, want to join? You can interview everyone for your story. The story of how two abandoned daughters built an empire." She smiled. "I wouldn't miss it." Walking out, I took one last look at my office. The view wasn't just city lights anymore. It was possibility. Somewhere out there was another girl with dreams bigger than her circumstances, waiting for a chance. Thanks to Eliana's check and her own arrogance, I could now give her that chance. "Coming?" June called. "Yeah," I said, turning off my computer. "Let's go build something beautiful." The elevator doors closed on the empire I'd built from pain, but they opened to something better, a future built on hope. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction, it's creation. And I was just getting started.
I still remember the exact moment my future drove away in a cherry red Mustang. My college fund, transformed into 420 horsepower of betrayal, wrapped in a bow with my brother's name on it. My name is Lucille, and I was 18 when I learned that family loyalty has a price tag. "Isn't it beautiful?" My mother's voice dripped with pride as she filmed Ruben circling the driveway. "He's worked so hard. He deserves this boost before starting college." I stood frozen on our front porch, still holding the acceptance letter from Stanford that had arrived that morning. The same letter I'd planned to celebrate with them over dinner. That's my college fund, isn't it?" "Oh, honey." Mum's camera didn't waver from Ruben's victory lap. "You're so smart. You'll figure something out. You always do." Dad cleared his throat behind me. "There are plenty of good state schools, Lucy, and you can always take out loans like other kids." The engine revved as Ruben pulled up beside us. His grin was blinding. "Come on, sis. Take a ride with me." I felt sick. "I have work in 20 minutes. "Since when do you work?" Ruben laughed. "Since 3 months ago, at Denny's." Not that anyone had noticed. I'd been picking up every shift I could, saving for books and supplies. What a joke that seemed now. Mum finally lowered her phone. Lucille, don't be dramatic. Your brother needs reliable transportation for college. You know how dangerous public transit can be. And my education? What about that? You're stronger than him, Dad said quietly. You can handle it. I looked between them, Mum already turning back to Reuben, Dad avoiding my eyes, my brother gunning the engine of my future. Something inside me hardened. I have to go, I said, walking toward my beaten-up Honda Civic, the one I'd bought myself with summer job money. Lucy, wait, Reuben called out. We're having cake. Mum got your favourite. I stopped. My favourite is chocolate. That German apple thing in there is yours. The silence that followed was almost satisfying. At work, I mechanically filled coffee cups and took orders, my mind racing. The numbers wouldn't stop spinning. 4 years at Stanford, 60,000 per year, my measly savings, the crushing weight of loans. More coffee, hun? A regular customer, Barbara, held up her cup. Sorry, yes. I poured, trying to steady my shaking hands. You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. I forced a smile. Just college stress. You know how it is. Barbara nodded sympathetically. My daughter's applying too. These schools are so expensive now. Thank God for her college fund. We've been saving since she was born. The coffee pot nearly slipped from my grip. Must be nice, I whispered. During my break, I sat in the walk-in freezer, my unofficial crying spot, and made 3 calls. First to Stanford's financial aid office, then to a student loan provider, finally to the community college across town. My phone buzzed with a text from Reuben. Taking Melissa for a ride. She says the car is hot like me. I stared at my reflection in the freezer's steel wall. My eyes were red, but something else had changed. The hurt was still there, but now it had company. Cold, calculating anger. Order up! Jake, our cook, yelled through the window. I grabbed my notepad and stepped back into the dining room. Table 6 needed ranch dressing. Table 3 wanted their check. Normal people living normal lives while my world imploded. At midnight, I pulled into our driveway. The Mustang gleamed under the porch light, taunting me. I sat there for a long moment, then pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. The savings account I'd started at 16 had exactly $3,247.82 in it. Not even enough for one semester's books. Inside, on the kitchen counter, sat a piece of untouched German apple cake with a note. Saved you a slice. Ah. I dropped the plate into the trash, note and all. In my room, I opened my laptop and started searching. Student loans, work-study programs, scholarships, anything and everything. My acceptance letter to Stanford lay crumpled beside me, a dream turned to paper. Just wait, I whispered to my dark room. One day it'll be my turn. I didn't know then how long I'd have to wait, or how complete my revenge would be when it finally came. But sitting there, surrounded by the ruins of my carefully planned future, I made myself a promise. I would never need them again. And when the day came that they needed me, because it would come, I'd remember this moment. The sound of a Mustang engine roared in the distance. My brother, still out living his best life. I opened a new spreadsheet and titled it Plan B. Ramen noodles taste different at 3 a.m. when you're studying in the break room of a 24-hour diner. They taste like necessity, like survival. You look dead, Maria, the night cook, said as she dropped an extra egg into my cup. 3rd all-nighter this week. Finals. I highlighted another paragraph in my economics textbook, plus morning classes, then afternoon shift here, evening shift at the library, sleep is for the week. Girl, you're going to break yourself. Maybe I already had. 6 months into community college and I was running on caffeine and spite. But my GPA was perfect and every spare dollar went into my transfer fund. Stanford might be out of reach, but I'd found a decent business program at State that would take me after 2 years. My phone buzzed. Mom again. Reuben made Dean's list, having a little celebration dinner tomorrow. Coming home? I typed back. Can't. Sick. Studying for finals. 3 dots appeared then. Always studying. You work too hard, sweetie. Learn to enjoy life like your brother. I turned the phone face down and went back to my textbook. The words blurred together. Hey! A guy in a wrinkled button-down appeared at my table, clutching his own textbook. Mind if I join? Every other seat's taken. I gestured to the empty chair, not looking up. I'm Alejandro, suffering through business law, economics, Lucille. Ah, the dismal science. He pulled out his notes. You're in Professor Williams' class, right? I've seen you there. Always front row, always prepared. Someone has to be. We studied in comfortable silence until my break ended. As I stood to leave, he said, There's a study group meeting at the library tomorrow. You should come. Can't. Working. Both jobs? I paused. You know about that. Like I said, I notice things. The group meets Thursdays too. For some reason, I found myself saying, Thursdays work. The study group became my lifeline. Alejandro brought coffee and actually funny jokes. Others brought notes and sympathy. For 3 hours each week, I felt almost normal. Until the holiday photos started arriving. Look where your brother is. Mum's text showed Ruben on a ski slope in Aspen. Perfect smile gleaming. His friend's family invited him for winter break. I was in the walk-in freezer again, but not for crying this time, just for quiet. Lucille. It was Barbara, my regular customer. Honey, are you okay? Fine. I wiped my face. Just inventory. She wasn't buying it. Come sit with me. I'm on break too. At her table, she pushed a piece of pie toward me. Talk. So I did. About the college fund, the car, the endless shifts. About watching my brother's perfect life unfold on social media while I calculated how many hours of work equaled one textbook. You're angry, she said finally. I'm tired. No. Her eyes were kind but firm. You're angry. And you should be. Something in me cracked. They act like I'm some kind of robot, like I don't need help or support or just a damn phone call that isn't about Ruben. Then stop answering their calls. I looked up. What? You're killing yourself trying to prove something to people who aren't even watching. Stop. Focus on you. That night, I missed 3 calls from Mum about Ruben's latest adventure. Instead, I went to the library with Alejandro. You seem different, he said as we studied. Good different. Lighter, he smiled, like you finally put down something heavy. My phone buzzed again. Mom, why aren't you answering? Ruben has big news. I turned off the phone. Very good different, Alejandro said. The semester ended. I aced my finals. No one came to see my grades posted. No celebration dinner. Just me and my 2 jobs and my slowly growing transfer fund. But something had shifted. The anger was still there, but it wasn't eating me alive anymore. It was hardening into something else, something focused. You should come home for Christmas, Mum tried again. Ruben misses you. Can't, I texted back. Picked up extra shifts, saving for next semester. Always about money with you, she replied. Family should come first. I stared at those words for a long time before typing, yes, it should. Then I blocked their numbers. Alejandro found me in the library later. Want to get coffee? You look like you could use a break. Actually, I said, I could use a friend. He smiled. You've already got one. Outside, snow was falling. Somewhere in Aspen, my brother was probably still skiing. But for the first time in months, I didn't care. I had my books, my jobs, my perfect GPA, and now maybe a real friend. It wasn't much, but it was mine. Graduation day at State University. My name echoed across the auditorium. Lucille Newman, summa cum laude. I crossed the stage, accepted my diploma, and searched the crowd. They were there, 3rd row, centre, looking uncomfortable and out of place. Mum fiddling with her phone, Dad checking his watch, Ruben holding up his camera with visible boredom. Smile, sis, he called out, barely looking through the viewfinder. I didn't. After the ceremony, they found me in the crowd. Mum's hug was stiff, performative. We're so proud, she said, eyes already scanning the parking lot. Though you could have picked a shorter ceremony, Ruben's missing an important networking event to be here. Nobody asked him to come. Family supports family, Dad muttered, but wouldn't meet my eyes. Ruben lowered his camera. Got some great shots. I'll post them on my new lifestyle blog. My followers will love the whole supportive brother angle. I stared at him. You're what? My brand. I'm becoming an influencer. You know, luxury lifestyle content? Mum and Dad helped me set up my studio. Of course they did. Speaking of support, Mum cut in, we should discuss your plans. Moving back home would help you save money while you job hunt. I start at Morgan Stanley next month, in Chicago. Silence. Chicago? Dad frowned. That's so far. That's the point. More silence. Well, Reuben said brightly, at least let me post these pics. Family success story and all that. No? Come on, it'll be great content. I said no! I turned to leave, but Mum grabbed my arm. Lucille, don't be difficult. Your brother's trying to build something here. I pulled away. Goodbye, Mom. That's it, Reuben called after me. No celebration dinner? I kept walking. 2 weeks later, I was unpacking in my tiny Chicago studio when my phone rang. Unknown number. Is this Lucille Newman? Yes. This is Margaret Walsh from First National Trust. I'm calling about your Aunt Patricia's estate. I sat down. I'm sorry, my what? Your Aunt Patricia. She passed away last month. She left you a small trust fund. There must be a mistake. I don't have an Aunt Patricia. Patricia Newman? Your father's sister? Memory flickered. A Christmas card once, years ago. Dad had thrown it away, muttering about family disappointments. The trust wasn't huge, $40,000, but it was mine. No strings, no guilt, no family drama, just a gift from someone who'd apparently understood what it meant to walk away. I called Alejandro that night. He'd moved to New York after graduation, but we still talked weekly. A secret aunt? He laughed. That's some telenovela stuff right there. Dad never mentioned her. I had to Google her obituary. I paused. She was a financial advisor. Built her own firm from nothing. Sounds familiar. She never married, never had kids. Dad called her selfish. Also sounds familiar? Shut up. But I was smiling. I just wish I'd known her. Maybe she knew you, better than you think. The next day, I opened an investment account. Aunt Patricia's money would grow. I'd make sure of it. Months passed. I threw myself into work, making a name at Morgan Stanley. My boss, Paige, took me under her wing. You've got an edge, she told me during my first review. Something driving you. Just ambitious. No. She studied me. You're building armour. Question is, what are you protecting yourself from? I didn't answer. That night, scrolling through social media, I saw Reuben's latest post. Him posing beside a rented Ferrari, caption reading, living my best life. Blessed on the you luxury lifestyle. The comments were gushing. Mum's especially. So proud of my baby boy, following his dreams. I closed the app and opened my investment portfolio instead. The numbers were growing. Steady, quiet growth while Reuben chased likes and Mom chased his shadow. My phone buzzed. A text from an old high school classmate. Hey, weird question. Did you know your brother's trying to start some luxury consulting business? He hit me up for a loan. Seemed desperate. I screenshotted the message. Another buzz. Alejandro. You free this weekend? I'm in Chicago for work. Always free for you. Good. Because I have news about that real estate law project I mentioned. I smiled. Alejandro had been dropping hints about some opportunity, something that would need my financial background. Buy me dinner, I texted back, and I'll listen to your pitch. My phone lit up one more time. Mum. Thinking of you. Reuben's having a brand launch party next month. He'd love to have his successful sister there for photos. I didn't respond. Some bridges aren't worth rebuilding. Besides, I was building something else now, something they'd never see coming. Your brother's empire is crumbling, Alejandro said, sliding his phone across the restaurant table. Check his latest numbers. I scrolled through Reuben's social media analytics. Engagement down 70%. Sponsorships cancelled. Comment sections filled with accusations of fake luxury lifestyle posts. Turns out you can't build a brand on borrowed watches and rented cars forever, I said, handing the phone back. That's not all. Alejandro leaned forward. My firm handled 3 of his rejected loan applications last month. He's underwater on credit cards and that fancy car lease. Defaulted. I sipped my wine, savouring the information like a fine vintage. And our parents? Remortgaged their house 6 months ago, probably to bail him out. Perfect. My phone buzzed. Speaking of the devil, Mom calling. Take it, Alejandro said. Could be interesting. I answered on speaker. Hello? Lucille! Oh, thank goodness. I've been thinking about you so much lately. It's been 2 years, Mom. Has it? Time flies. How's Chicago? Still at that investment place? Morgan Stanley? Yes, I'm a senior analyst now. That's nice. She paused. Actually, I'm calling because your father and I miss you. And Ruben. He talks about you all the time. Alejandro rolled his eyes. Really? I kept my voice neutral. Last I saw, he was busy being an influencer. Oh, well, that's taking a break. The market's so saturated, you know. But he's got amazing new opportunities coming up. He's going into real estate development. I caught Alejandro's eye. Here it comes. Actually, Mum continued, we're having a family dinner next weekend. Would you come? Ruben has something important to discuss. I'm pretty busy. Please, Lucille. Family should stick together during transitions. The desperation in her voice was delicious. Send me the details, I said. I'll check my calendar. After hanging up, Alejandro shook his head. They're setting you up. Obviously. You know what they want. Money. I smiled. Or more specifically, my credit score. Are you going? Of course. I reached for the wine bottle. I've been waiting years for this dinner. The following weekend, I pulled up to my parents' house in my new Mercedes. The contrast with Ruben's conspicuously absent luxury cars was striking. Mum opened the door before I could knock. Lucille, you look expensive. Senior analyst, remember? The house smelled like my childhood. Mum's lasagna, her go-to manipulation meal. Dad hovered awkwardly in the living room. Princess! He moved for a hug, but stopped short. Nice car out there. Thanks. Paid cash? Their expressions were priceless. Ruben bounded down the stairs, designer clothes somehow looking cheaper than before. Sis, you made it. Wouldn't miss it. Over dinner, the performance began. Mum reminiscing about childhood memories. Dad praising my business sense. Ruben telling sanitized versions of his influencer downfall. But that's all behind me now, he announced. I found my true calling. Luxury real estate development. Really? I cut my lasagna. Interesting market for that. That's what I wanted to discuss. He leaned forward. I found this amazing property. Waterfront, modern design, incredible potential. The perfect starter mansion for my new brand. Mum beamed. Dad studied his plate. Sounds expensive, I said. Well, yes. Ruben laughed nervously. But with the right investment partners... He means family partners, Mum interjected. Supporting each other's dreams. I set down my fork. How much? The house is listed at 2.8 million, Ruben said quickly. But I only need a co-signer. The bank loves my business plan. They just want extra security. Because of your credit score? Silence fell. Lucille, Mum warned. No, it's okay, Ruben said. I've had some setbacks, but this is different. This is real investment, not social media stuff. I've learned my lesson. Have you? People make mistakes, Dad finally spoke. Family helps family recover. I looked around the table. Mum's pleading eyes, Dad's discomfort, Ruben's practiced sincerity. 3 people who'd never helped me recover from their mistakes. Send me the paperwork, I said. I'll review it. Really? Ruben's face lit up. Really? Alejandro's text read later that night. Trust me, I replied. Everything's going according to plan. My phone buzzed again. Mum. Thank you for considering this. You've always been the strong one. I thought of Aunt Patricia's trust fund, quietly multiplied through careful investment, of the connections I'd built at Morgan Stanley, of the legal groundwork Alejandro had laid. Yes, I texted back. I am. Strong enough to wait for the perfect moment, strong enough to make it hurt. This is it! Ruben spread his arms wide, spinning in the empty great room of the waterfront mansion. My future empire starts here. The real estate agent, Tracy, hovered nearby with a practised smile. The views are spectacular, and the private dock can accommodate up to a 50-foot yacht. Mum touched the marble countertops reverently. It's perfect for your brand relaunch, honey. I walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows, studying the water below. What's the asking price again? 2.8 million, Tracy said. But there's already been significant interest from qualified buyers. I turned, eyebrow raised. Tracy's smile flickered. Lucille, Mom hissed. Don't be rude. Just doing due diligence. I pulled out my phone. Mind if my attorney reviews the paperwork? Attorney? Ruben's confidence wavered. It's a standard mortgage, sis. Alejandro specialises in real estate law. He's on standby. Mum intervened smoothly. Let's discuss details over lunch. I packed your favourite. Remember those picnics we used to have? German apple cake? I asked innocently. She flushed. Well, no, but... Tracy, I cut in. Could you walk me through the property taxes and HOA fees? The numbers were exactly what I expected. Astronomical. Ruben's eyes glazed over as Tracy detailed the costs, but I caught every figure, every trap. Perhaps we should discuss financing, Tracy suggested diplomatically. Ruben brightened. My sister's a financial genius. Senior analyst at Morgan Stanley. Really? Tracy's interest sharpened. And you'll be co-signing? We're reviewing options, I said. My phone buzzed. Alejandro. Got the preliminary paperwork. This is worse than we thought. Call me. Excuse me. I stepped onto the balcony. Work call. It's a disaster, Alejandro said when I answered. The down payment alone would drain him. Monthly payments are triple his documented income. Perfect. Lucille? Are you sure about this? I watched through the window as Ruben gestured excitedly, probably planning where his YouTube studio would go. Absolutely sure. Back inside, Mum was already planning the housewarming party. Dad had finally arrived, looking uncomfortable as usual. There you are. Ruben grabbed my arm. Come see the master suite. It's influencer heaven. The bedroom was bigger than my first apartment. Ruben bounced on the massive bed while Tracy detailed the custom closets. Just imagine the content I could create here, he gushed. My followers will go crazy. All 12,000 of them, I muttered. What? Nothing, I smiled. When do you need an answer about co-signing? Tracy stepped forward. The sellers want to move quickly. Perhaps we could... Let's discuss it over dinner, Mum interrupted. I made reservations at that lovely Italian place. At the restaurant, the performance reached its peak. Mum ordered expensive wine. Dad actually participated in conversation. Ruben was on his best behaviour. Remember when Lucille used to help me with math? He said, laying it on thick. She always knew how to explain things. You were a terrible student, I replied. But you never gave up on me. He raised his glass. To family. Mum wiped away a tear. Dad cleared his throat. My phone buzzed again. Alejandro. Modified contract ready. Just say when. Speaking of family, Mum set down her wine. We should discuss the practical details. Yes, I said. Let's. The bank needs some reassurance, Ruben began. Just a signature, really. You won't be responsible for anything. Except if you default. Silence. Which won't happen, Mum jumped in. Your brother has learned so much from his experiences. Has he? I turned to Ruben. Tell me about your business plan. Well, luxury real estate content is huge right now. I'll do house tours, lifestyle videos, maybe some coaching. With what audience? I'm rebuilding. This house is the foundation. Of more debt? Lucille, Dad warned. I pulled out my phone. Let me show you something. I opened his credit report, legally obtained through my banking connections. Want to explain these numbers? Ruben paled. Mum reached for more wine. I can explain. You don't have to, I said calmly, because I'm going to help you. Hope bloomed on their faces. Really? Ruben's eyes watered. Sis, I knew you'd understand. I'll co-sign. Mum actually clapped. But, I continued, I have conditions. My lawyer will draw up the paperwork. Lawyer? Dad frowned. It's just a mortgage. I smiled. Nothing is ever just anything. My phone buzzed one final time. Alejandro. Contract ready. Are you sure you want to do this? I looked at my family's eager faces and typed back, They taught me well. Always get everything in writing. The trap was set. Now to watch them walk right into it. The bank's conference room felt like a theatre stage. Nancy, the loan officer, arranged documents with practiced precision while Ruben bounced in his chair like a kid at Christmas. Just a few signatures, Nancy said, and we can proceed with the mortgage. Mum squeezed Ruben's shoulder. This is such a special moment. Very special, I agreed, setting my briefcase on the table. Nancy, I have some additional paperwork to include. Additional? Mum's smile faltered. Just a side agreement between siblings. I pulled out Alejandro's contract. Standard protection clauses. Nancy adjusted her glasses. The bank's documentation is comprehensive. This is separate. A private contract between my brother and me. Reuben barely glanced at it. Whatever you need, sis. Where do I sign? Perhaps we should review it first, Dad suggested. It's simple. I slid the contract across the table. I'm co-signing with specific conditions. If Reuben misses any payments, the house and all associated assets transfer directly to me. The room went silent. That's... Mum started. Standard practice, I finished. Ask Nancy. Nancy nodded reluctantly. Co-signers often include protection clauses. But family is different, Mum protested. Exactly why we need everything in writing. I turned to Reuben. Unless you're planning to default? Of course not. He laughed nervously. This is my dream. I'll never miss a payment. Then there's no problem. Dad picked up the contract. No grace periods, no payment plans. He deserves a boost, I quoted, watching Mom flinch. Isn't that what we believe in? Reuben grabbed a pen. It doesn't matter. I've got this all figured out. My new business plan. Sign or don't, I interrupted. But I won't co-sign without this agreement. Nancy cleared her throat. We should proceed if we want to close today. Mum tried one last time. Lucille, surely we can discuss. No discussion needed. Reuben scrawled his signature. See? Done. Now you sign, sis. I signed slowly, savouring each letter. Nancy notarised both contracts. Congratulations, she said. You're now officially co-owners of 47 Lakefront Drive. Reuben whooped and hugged me. This is going to be amazing. Wait till you see what I do with the place. I patted his back stiffly. I'm sure I will. Outside the bank, Mum pulled me aside. That contract was cruel. Cruel would be enabling him without consequences. We're family. Yes, I cut her off. We are. And family deserves honesty, right? So honestly, Mum, he'll default within 6 months. You don't know that. His credit report says otherwise. His failed business says otherwise. But don't worry. I'll take good care of the house when it's mine. She stepped back like I'd slapped her. You planned this. Did I? Or did you teach me how family helps family? Dad appeared behind her. The realtor's waiting, Catherine. I watched them hurry to their car. Mum already on the phone, probably planning the housewarming party. Reuben was taking selfies by the bank's sign. My phone buzzed. Alejandro. Done? Signed and notarised. You know he'll never keep up those payments. That's the point. What happens when they figure it out? I watched Reuben pose for another photo. They won't. Not until it's too late. That night, I received dozens of messages. Photos of Reuben with his new house keys. Mum's lengthy thank you text about family bonds. Dad's awkward attempt at an emoji. I ignored them all and opened my investment portfolio instead. The numbers were solid. More than enough to cover the mortgage when, not if, Reuben defaulted. Paige, my boss, had questioned my strategy over lunch last week. You're risking a lot on revenge, she'd said. Not revenge, I corrected. Investment. Now watching Reuben's first house tour video go live. Incredible mansion tour. My new life begins. I felt nothing but calm certainty. The video showed him bouncing through empty rooms, making grand plans. And here's where the streaming setup will go. Once the brand deals start rolling in, comments were already appearing. How can you afford this? Didn't your last business fail? Is this another fake flex? I closed the app and texted Nancy. Keep me updated on the payment schedule. Will do, she replied. Though between us, I give it 4 months max. I smiled and opened my calendar, counting the days until the first mortgage payment was due. Reuben had no idea he'd just signed away his future. But then again, he'd never understood the true cost of things. That was about to change. The first payment bounced exactly 47 days after closing. Just a bank error! Reuben's voice crackled through my phone. I'll fix it tomorrow. The second payment never came. By day 90, Nancy's updates became daily. Final notice sent. No response to calls. Foreclosure proceedings beginning. On day 103, Mum called. He's trying his best, she pleaded. The brand deals fell through, but he has leads. The contract was clear. He just needs more time. Your father and I could help, but after remortgaging our house for his last venture, not my problem. He's your brother. Was he my brother when you spent my college fund on his car? Silence. Then quietly, you've been waiting for this, haven't you? 4 years, 2 months and 17 days, but who's counting? The foreclosure notice arrived on a Tuesday. I had it framed. Ruben's social media went dark after his tearful emergency truth about my mansion video flopped. The comments were brutal. Called it another fake influencer. Must be nice having rich parents to bail you out. Karma's real, bro. On day 120, I pulled into the mansion's circular driveway. Ruben's latest borrowed luxury car was gone, replaced by our parents' aging sedan. Mum opened the door before I knocked. Her eyes were red. Here to gloat? Here to collect? Dad appeared behind her. The lawyers say we might have grounds to contest. No, I cut him off. You don't. But please, waste more money trying. The house was a mess. Half-finished influencer rooms with ring lights and backdrop walls, empty energy drink cans, unpaid bills scattered across imported marble counters. Where's Ruben? Upstairs, Mum whispered. Packing. I climbed the sweeping staircase, each step echoing with satisfaction. Found him in the master suite, surrounded by designer clothes with tags still attached. Come to kick me out personally? The sheriff will handle that next week. He looked up, eyes wet. I really thought I could do it this time. No, you didn't. You thought someone would save you, like always. Mum and Dad are broke because of you. I'll pay everyone back. I've got new opportunities. Stop. I held up my hand. Just stop. He deflated. What happens now? Now? I smiled. Now you leave. The house is mine. You planned this. Yes. Why? I walked to the window, my window now. Remember that red Mustang? What? That was years ago. That was my future you drove away in? This? I gestured around the room. This is karma. It was just a car. No. I turned back to him. It was a choice. Mum and Dad chose you over and over, and now I'm choosing me. The doorbell rang. That's my attorney, I said. Time to sign the transfer papers. I could fight this. With what money? Downstairs, Alejandro had spread documents across the kitchen island. Mum was crying softly. Dad stared at his shoes. Sign here, Alejandro pointed. And here. Initial here. Ruben's hand shook. What about my stuff? You have 48 hours to remove personal items, Alejandro replied. Anything left becomes Ms. Newman's property. Mum stepped forward. Lucille, please. Don't! My voice could have frozen fire. Don't you dare ask for mercy now. We're your family. No. You're the people who taught me that family means nothing without leverage. Ruben signed the last page. Alejandro notarized it. It's done, he announced. I picked up the papers. You can all leave now. Where am I supposed to go? Ruben asked. There's always the guest room at Mom and Dad's. Oh, wait. I pretended to remember. They remortgaged the house for your last failure, didn't they? Mum grabbed her purse. You've become cruel. I've become successful. Isn't that what you wanted? They filed out slowly. Ruben last, carrying one designer duffel bag. Sis! He tried one more time. I'm sorry about the car. About everything. No, you're not. You're sorry you finally lost. The door closed behind them. Alejandro touched my shoulder. You okay? I looked around my new house, all 6,000 square feet of revenge served cold. I've never been better. Through the window, I watched them pile into Dad's car. No more borrowed luxury vehicles, no more fake lifestyle posts. Just reality, finally catching up. Mum looked back once. I raised my hand in a small wave. Then I pulled out my phone and texted Nancy. Transfer complete. List it for sale tomorrow. Already have interested buyers, she replied. At a significant profit. Perfect. Because this was never about the house. It was about watching them walk away with nothing. Just like I had, that day in the Denny's parking lot. My morning coffee was interrupted by Paige dropping a file on my desk. Interesting application came across my desk, she said. Thought you should see it. I opened the folder and froze. There, under previous experience, was my brother's name. He applied for the junior analyst position, Paige continued. Said he has a sister in finance who could vouch for him. I closed the file. No. That's what I thought. She perched on my desk. But there's more. Your mother left 3 messages with HR about setting up an interview. Of course she did. My phone buzzed. Mom, please just talk to the hiring manager. He's changed. He needs this. I deleted the message and turned to Paige. Handle it however you want. Already did. But that's not why I'm here. She studied me carefully. The board approved your promotion to managing director. What? Youngest in the firm's history. You've earned it. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt empty. That evening I met Alejandro at our usual bar. Managing director. He raised his glass. Congratulations. Thanks. I stared at my untouched drink. Ruben applied for a job at my firm. Bold move. Desperate move. He's been couch surfing since the house sold. And your parents? Downsized to a condo. Dad took a second job. Alejandro leaned forward. You got what you wanted. Why don't you seem happy? Because... I struggled with the words. Because winning feels different than I thought it would. Different how? Empty. I finally took a sip. Like I spent years building this perfect revenge, and now you have to live with it? Yeah. He pulled out his phone. Speaking of living with things, remember that real estate project I mentioned? The community development thing? We're breaking ground next month. Affordable housing for students. Full scholarship program included. I raised an eyebrow. And we need a financial partner who understands the value of education. The irony wasn't lost on me. Using my revenge money to fund scholarships? I laughed. That's a bit on the nose. Better than letting it eat you alive. My phone buzzed again. A text from Dad. I know we don't deserve forgiveness, but I'm proud of what you've become, even if it was in spite of us. Then another. Your Aunt Patricia would be proud too. I showed Alejandro the messages. Well, he asked. Well, what? Are you going to let them keep living in your head rent-free, or are you going to build something better? I thought about my new office, the promotion, the empty victory. Show me the project proposal, I said. He smiled and pulled out his laptop. It's a partnership with State University, 20 units, full ride for students who maintain a 3.5 GPA. As he talked, another text arrived. Ruben. Congratulations on managing director. You deserved it. All of it. I'm sorry I never saw that before. I started typing a response, then stopped. What's wrong? Alejandro asked. Just realising something. I put my phone away. Revenge feels good for a moment. Building something feels good forever. So show me where to sign. The scholarship program launched 3 months later. No fancy ceremony, no social media posts, no family drama, just quiet impact. My phone still buzzes with family messages. Mum still tries to fix things. Ruben still looks for shortcuts. Dad still sends awkward emojis. But now? Their messages land differently, because while they're stuck in the same old patterns, I'm building something new. Something that turns old wounds into future opportunities. Paige caught me reviewing scholarship applications late one night. This is different than revenge, she noted. Better different, I replied, thinking of Alejandro's words from years ago. You know, she said carefully, healing doesn't mean you have to let them back in. I know. I picked up another application. But it does mean I get to choose what to build next. My phone buzzed. Another text from Ruben. Got a job, a real one. Starting at the bottom this time. For the first time in years, I wrote back. Good. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't family reunion time. It was just letting go. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's building something so good, so solid, that the past becomes nothing but a foundation for something better. I signed the last scholarship approval and looked out my office window at the city lights. Somewhere out there, my brother was starting over. Somewhere out there, my parents were learning hard lessons. And here I was, finally building something that wasn't about them at all. It was about what came next. And for the first time in a long time, that felt like enough.
You're seriously giving me this? That was the moment it happened. Not a scream, not a slap, not even a dramatic gasp. Just those 6 words dripping with disgust as my sister held the scrapbook like it was a used tissue. I blinked. It's It's a scrapbook. I made it myself. It has photos of us from when we were kids and—" "I know what it is," Sienna snapped, flipping a page with 2 fingers like it might bite her. "God, Pearl, you're 30. Why are you still giving me arts and crafts?" The room was empty now, just the 2 of us in the bridal suite after her shower. Earlier, the place had been packed with pastel cupcakes, fake laughter, and Presley squealing over lingerie. Now it was quiet, except for the sound of my heart thudding in my ears. "I thought it'd be meaningful," I said. "There's a page with Grandma's recipe in her handwriting, and the plane ticket stub from our first Disneyland trip. I spent weeks on it." Sienna rolled her eyes so hard I thought they might get stuck. "I told you we needed cash for the honeymoon. Jason and I are doing Bora Bora, not Memory Lane." She shoved the scrapbook back into the gift bag and tossed it onto the floor like it offended her. "If you're not going to contribute to the fund, just say so. Don't do this whole sentimental guilt trip thing." I stood there, still holding the ribbon I'd tied around the bag. "You asked for personal gifts at the shower." "Yeah, from people who can't afford to do more. You can. You're always bragging about your savings account." "I wasn't. I never bragged. I just once mentioned I'd paid off my student loans early, and somehow that became family code for Pearl's the bank." She crossed her arms. "Look, it's not a big deal. Just Venmo me $2,000 or whatever. We'll call it even." Even, like the last 15 years of bailing her out of overdraft fees, co-signing her car lease, and covering Mum's surprise birthday dinner that Sienna planned but forgot to pay for. Those didn't count. I didn't say a word. I bent down, picked up the scrapbook, and pulled the ribbon free. I folded it neatly, tucked it into my purse. Then I straightened up, looked her in the eye and said, "Okay." She blinked. "Okay? Okay," I repeated. I smiled. It wasn't warm. Then I turned and walked out of the suite. My heels clicked against the tile like punctuation marks. Something in me had snapped, but it snapped quietly, and that's always more dangerous. My name is Pearl, and I've been the family doormat for 3 decades. I'm the younger sister, the responsible one, the one who always shows up. I bring extra batteries to Thanksgiving. I remember everyone's birthdays. I keep a Google sheet of who likes what kind of wine. And Sienna? She's the sun around which our mother orbits. She's the drama, the sparkle, the one who just needs a little help right now for the 12th year running. Growing up, she used to steal my Halloween candy and then cry when I told Mom. Guess who got scolded for not sharing? At the bridal shower, she was in full performance mode. Hair extensions, fake lashes, a white dress that cost more than my rent. She opened each gift with a shriek and a squeal, tossing tissue paper like confetti. Presley, her maid of honour and fellow narcissist, kept shouting, "Yes, Queen!" every time Sienna unwrapped something remotely shiny. When it was my turn, I handed over the bag with both hands. I'd wrapped it in silver paper, tied it with ribbon, even added a sprig of lavender. Sienna smiled. Plastic, tight. "Oh, from my baby sister," she cooed, loud enough for everyone to hear. She opened it, flipped through a few pages and said, "So sweet." Then she moved on like it was a card from a co-worker. But later, when the guests were gone and the champagne buzz had faded, the real Sienna came out. I drove home in silence. No music, no podcast, just the sound of traffic and my own breathing. I didn't cry. I didn't even feel sad. I felt done, like something had finally clicked into place. At a red light, I glanced at the bag in the passenger seat. The scrapbook sat inside, slightly bent. I reached in, pulled it out, and opened to the last page. There, taped carefully, was a photo of us as kids. Sienna in a princess dress, me in a dinosaur hoodie, both of us grinning. I'd captioned it, "Before we knew better." I closed the book. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do yet, but I knew what I wasn't going to do. I wasn't giving her a single cent. Not for the honeymoon, not for the wedding, not for anything. She'd thrown away my gift. Fine, I'd return the favour. But unlike her, I'd do it with style. Jayla, guess how much money I've given Sienna since college? Jayla didn't even look up from her iced coffee. Oh God, don't tell me. I want to sleep tonight. I flipped my laptop around so she could see the spreadsheet. That's just the last 5 years. Rent, emergency credit card bills, bachelorette trip deposits, the I lost my wallet incident in Vegas. Jayla squinted at the total. $9,472? Are you kidding me? Nope. And that doesn't include the time I paid her car insurance for 6 months. Jayla set her cup down. Pearl, babe, that's not sisterhood. That's financial abuse. I gave a half shrug. She always made it seem like it was just temporary, like I was helping her get on her feet. Jayla leaned across the table. She's been standing on your feet. We were sitting at our usual spot at the corner cafe, 2 blocks from my apartment. I'd brought the scrapbook with me, mostly out of spite. I started pulling it apart while we talked. Jayla watched as I slid out a photo of us at summer camp, then carefully peeled off the corner sticker holding an old concert ticket. Wait, is that from the Paramore show in 2009? Yep, and this, I held up a folded napkin, is from our first dinner out without our parents. Sienna ordered lobster and made me split the bill. Jayla snorted. Classic. I kept dismantling the pages, slower now. There was something weirdly satisfying about it, like reverse therapy. Then I found it. I paused, holding up a small envelope. What's that? Jayla asked. I opened it and pulled out a pressed flower and a thin gold chain. It's Grandma's locket. I forgot I put it in here. Jayla's eyes widened. Wait, is that real gold? Yeah, it was in a box of her old stuff. I thought it'd be meaningful. Jayla took it, examined the clasp. Pearl, this is vintage. You could sell this. I blinked. I wasn't thinking about that. Think about it now, she said. You've got emotional trauma and literal treasure in here. Let's make some magic. 2 hours later, we were at a vintage jewellery shop downtown. The guy behind the counter had a man bun and a magnifying glass. He examined the locket, the charm bracelet, and a couple of other trinkets I'd added to the pile. I can give you $1,800 for the lot, he said. Jayla nudged me. That's almost the exact amount she demanded. I smiled. Make it $2,000 and you've got a deal. He looked at me, then at the jewellery. All right, done. We walked out with a cheque in my hand and a plan forming in my head. I'm not going to her wedding, I said. Jayla stopped mid-step. Wait, what? I'm not going, I'm not giving her money, I'm not giving her time, I'm done. Jayla stared at me like I'd just sprouted wings. You're serious? I've never been more serious. She let out a low whistle. Okay then, what are you going to do instead? I pulled out my phone and opened a travel app. Something for me. We sat on a bench outside the shop while I scrolled through options. Bali was too far. Miami felt too close. Then I saw it. Sedona, I said. Jayla leaned over. Ooh, red rocks, spas, rich divorcee energy. I like it. I booked the trip right there. Luxury spa resort, yoga in the mornings, facials in the afternoons, 3 nights, paid in full with the exact amount I'd just gotten from the jewellery. Jayla clapped. This is the energy I've been waiting for. Pearl 2.0. I grinned. She wanted money for her honeymoon. Great, I'm using it for mine. A solo honeymoon. Jayla raised her coffee in a toast. To self-love and not funding narcissists. I clinked my water bottle against her cup. Amen. That night, I went home and pulled out the last few things from the scrapbook. I found an old note from Sienna, written in purple gel pen. Thanks for letting me borrow your top. I got a date. You're the best lil sis. I stared at it for a long second. Then I tossed it in the trash. The next morning, I started packing. Not for the wedding, for Sedona. I booked a massage, scheduled a facial, and even added on a sound bath session, because why not? My phone buzzed with a text from Sienna. Sienna. Hey, I forgive you for the ugly gift thing. Let's just move on. Bring the check to the rehearsal dinner, Kay. I stared at the message. Jayla was right. This wasn't sisterhood. This was a transaction. I typed back one sentence. I'll see what I can do. Then I turned off my phone and slid it into a drawer. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. My phone lit up with Mom just as I was zipping up my suitcase. I let it ring once, twice. Then I answered. Hi, Mum. Pearl, she said, her voice already tight. I just got off the phone with your sister. Of course she did. She said you're being difficult about the wedding gift. What's going on? I took a deep breath and sat on the edge of my bed. I gave her a handmade scrapbook. She didn't like it. She asked for cash instead. Well, Mum said slowly, you know how stressed she's been. Planning a wedding is a lot. Maybe she just didn't express herself the right way. She threw the scrapbook at me, Mom. Silence. She said it was childish, called it arts and crafts. More silence. Then, well, maybe it wasn't the right time for that kind of gift. I stared at the wall. So now it's my fault? I'm not saying that. I just think you should be the bigger person. You always are. There it was, the family catchphrase. Be the bigger person. Translation, let Sienna walk all over you again. I'm not giving her money, I said. Mum sighed like I'd told her I was dropping out of society to live in a cave. Pearl, please, it's not about the money. It's about family, about showing support. I've shown support for 30 years. She's your sister. I stood up. Exactly, and she should act like it. Mum's voice dropped to that guilt-laced whisper she used when she wanted to sound like a martyr. You know how she gets. Just give her the check and let's keep the peace for one weekend. I walked to the window and looked out at the street. She doesn't want peace. She wants control. Pearl, I'm not doing it. There was a pause, then a sharp, disappointed exhale. I just hope you don't regret this later. I hung up without saying goodbye. That night, I got another text from Sienna. Sienna, I just want to move forward. Bring the check to the rehearsal dinner and we can forget the drama. She was so sure I'd cave. I texted back, I'll see what I can do. Then I slid my phone into airplane mode and tossed it onto the couch. The rehearsal dinner was Friday night. I showed up in a navy dress and nude heels, smiling like nothing was wrong. I even brought a bottle of wine. Cheap, but I wrapped it nicely. Sienna spotted me the second I walked in. Her eyes scanned my hands. No envelope. Pearl, she said, air-kissing my cheek. Glad you could make it. Wouldn't miss it, I said. Jason came over grinning. Hey, glad you're here. Sienna's been running around like crazy. I smiled at him. Poor guy, still clueless. Presley floated over in a cloud of perfume and a highlighter. OMG, Pearl, you look so cute tonight. Love that you're not going too glam. It's very chill bridesmaid energy. I'm not a bridesmaid, I said. She blinked. Oh, right, well, still cute. Dinner was a blur of wine, speeches, and Sienna laughing too loud at things that weren't funny. I sat between a second cousin and one of Jason's groomsmen, neither of whom knew what to say to me. I didn't mind. I was busy watching. Sienna floated from table to table, hugging people, reminding them about the honeymoon fund box that would be at the reception. Just cash or checks, please, she said, like she was running a fundraiser. Presley leaned over at one point and whispered, She's so excited for the 3K your family's contributing. She's already spent it in her head. I almost choked on my water. Oh, I said. Presley nodded. Yeah, she told me your mum's giving 1,000 and you're doing 2. That's so generous. I smiled. She's always had a vivid imagination. Presley blinked, confused. I excused myself and went to the bathroom, locked the stall, sat on the toilet seat, fully clothed, and just breathed. This was it. The performance. The illusion. Everyone here thought I was the dutiful sister, the one who'd show up with a fat check and a forced smile. They had no idea I'd already booked a massage in Sedona for the same time as the ceremony. I walked out of the stall, washed my hands and looked at myself in the mirror. I didn't look angry. I looked calm, peaceful even. I dried my hands and walked back out like nothing had happened. After dinner, I hugged Jason goodbye. "Excited for tomorrow?" I asked. He nodded. "Yeah, just ready to get through it. Sienna's been intense. She wants everything perfect." "Yeah," he said, rubbing the back of his neck. "I just hope she slows down after this." I didn't say anything. Sienna hugged me last. Her voice was syrupy sweet. "So, you bringing the gift tomorrow? Or should I just check my Venmo?" I smiled. "I'll see what I can do." Then I walked to my car, heels clicking on the pavement. I didn't look back. The wedding venue looked like a Pinterest board threw up on a vineyard. White roses everywhere, gold chairs, a harpist playing something that sounded expensive. I walked in just long enough to be seen at the rehearsal dinner the night before. But today I was done pretending. The morning of the wedding, I woke up early, showered, and pulled out my suitcase. Everything was already packed. Breezy dresses, sandals, sunscreen, and a wide-brimmed hat I'd bought just for this trip. I double-checked my flight confirmation, then pulled up Instagram. I scheduled the post, a photo of my boarding pass, spa itinerary, and a caption that read, "Starting my own honeymoon. Self-love, people-pleasing." I stared at it for a second, then hit schedule. It would go live right as Sienna walked down the aisle. My phone buzzed with a message from her. "Sienna. Don't forget the card. Presley's collecting them at the reception table." I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my group text with Jayla and Patrick, our cousin who somehow knew all the family tea. Me. "Boarding in 2 hours. Say hi to the drama for me." Jayla. "You're a legend. I'm bringing popcorn to the reception." Patrick. "I'll keep you posted. Already heard Sienna's been bragging about your gift. This is going to be delicious." I grinned and turned my phone to airplane mode. At the airport, I ordered a mimosa and sat near the gate, watching the wedding unravel from a distance. I imagined Presley in her sequined dress, fluttering around with a clipboard, barking orders at the caterers. I pictured my mum telling people I was running late or not feeling well. I imagined Sienna smiling through her teeth, wondering where my envelope was. I didn't feel bad, not even a little. The plane boarded. I slid into my seat, pulled out a book, and exhaled. Meanwhile, back at the venue, the whispers started early. Patrick told me later that people noticed I wasn't in the family photos. My mum told the photographer I was on my way, but by the time the ceremony started, people started asking questions. Presley, ever the PR manager, told a bridesmaid I had a last-minute emergency. Then someone saw my Instagram post. According to Patrick, it spread like wildfire. One of the groomsmen showed Jason. Jason showed the best man. The best man asked Presley, "Is this real?" Presley asked Sienna, and that's when the meltdown began. I was poolside sipping champagne when I got the first update. Patrick. "She just found out. She's pretending it's no big deal, but her eye is twitching." Jayla. "Your mum is telling people you had food poisoning. Someone showed her the post." Patrick. "The look on her face, I wish I could frame it." I laughed out loud. The woman next to me raised an eyebrow. I just smiled and took another sip. Back at the reception, things got messier. Sienna made her grand entrance, all smiles and sparkles, but the mood had shifted. People were murmuring. Presley tried to keep the energy up, but the bridesmaids were too busy snickering over the Instagram post. Jason, sweet, clueless Jason, finally confronted Sienna. "You told me Pearl was giving you money," he said, according to Patrick. "You said she offered." Sienna scoffed. "She was supposed to. She's just being dramatic." Jason frowned. "You demanded it from her." "I didn't demand. You told her $2,000 or nothing." "She owed me," Sienna snapped. Jason stared at her like he was seeing her for the first time. Meanwhile, I was getting a hot stone massage. The spa music played softly. My phone was off. My body was loose. And for the first time in years, I wasn't carrying anyone else's weight. Later that night, I turned my phone back on. It lit up like a Christmas tree. "Jayla?" She cried in the bridal suite, full mascara meltdown, screamed at Presley, threw a wine glass. Patrick. Jason looked like he wanted to run. I think he finally saw the real her. "Mom, call me, now." I didn't. Instead, I posted a photo of my dinner, lobster tail, roasted vegetables, and a glass of wine, with the caption, "Cheers to choosing peace over performance." The next morning, I FaceTimed Jayla from my balcony. She answered with a grin. "You are a hero." "Tell me everything," Jayla launched into it. "Okay, so Presley tried to spin it like you had a mental breakdown. Then Patrick showed everyone your post. The bridesmaids were dying. One of them said, 'Honestly, I wish I'd skipped too.'" I laughed. "How's Sienna?" "Puffy, silent. Jason's been MIA since the cake cutting. I think he's rethinking his life." I leaned back in my chair. "Good." Jayla raised her mug. "To karma?" "To boundaries," I said, and then we both burst out laughing. Back at the wedding, Sienna was left with a pile of envelopes, some empty, some thin, and a husband who was suddenly asking real questions. And me? I was in Sedona, sun on my face, not a single regret in sight. I was halfway through my second mimosa when my phone buzzed again. "Mom, call me, this is serious." Sienna. "You ruined everything." Presley. "Wow, just wow." I locked the screen and dropped the phone face down on the side table. The view from my suite was too perfect to waste on notifications. Red rocks glowing in the sunset, warm breeze, and not a single screaming bridesmaid in sight. Earlier that morning, I'd laid out my plan like clockwork. I'd woken up before sunrise, showered, and made myself a cup of tea. No music, no distractions, just calm. I laid out the clothes I'd wear to the airport: linen pants, soft tee, sandals. I packed the last few things into my carry-on: sunscreen, a book, a sleep mask. Then I opened my laptop and cued the post. It was a photo of my spa itinerary, the boarding pass tucked underneath, and a caption that read, "Can't make the wedding, prior commitment, starting my own honeymoon, self-love, people-pleasing." I scheduled it for 3:55 p.m, 5 minutes before the ceremony was set to start. I stared at the screen for a second before closing the laptop. Then I picked up my phone, opened my messages, and typed one final text to Sienna. "Me. Can't make the wedding. Prior commitment." I hit send. Then I blocked her number, blocked Mom too, blocked Presley for good measure. I turned on Do Not Disturb, zipped my suitcase, and walked out the door. At the airport, I bought a green juice and sat at the gate like I hadn't just detonated a social grenade. The flight was smooth. I spent most of it reading and ignoring the growing temptation to check my phone. By the time I landed in Arizona, the post had gone live. The comments were already rolling in. Jayla. "You did it." Patrick. "I'm at the reception. Everyone's talking. Sienna's face when she saw the post. Priceless." Bridesmaid. "I barely knew." Honestly, iconic. I turned off notifications again. I wasn't here to bask in the chaos. I was here to breathe. The resort was everything I hoped for. Soft robes, citrus-infused water in the lobby, a welcome drink with a sprig of rosemary. The receptionist handed me a key card and said, "You're booked for the Serenity package, daily massage, facials, yoga, and sound healing." "Perfect," I said. I checked into my suite, kicked off my shoes, and stood on the balcony for a moment. The silence was unreal. No screaming, no guilt-tripping, no one asking for money. Just me. Later that night, I FaceTimed Jayla. She answered from her car, still in her bridesmaid dress, hair frizzed, makeup smudged. "Girl," she said, "you have no idea what you just caused." "Tell me everything," she grinned. "Okay, so first of all, Presley tried to play it off like you had a mental health emergency and needed space." I laughed. "That's rich." "Then someone showed your post to the groomsman. Jason saw it. He looked like he'd been hit by a bus." "Did he say anything?" "Yeah. He walked straight to Sienna and asked, 'Did you demand money from Pearl?'" I raised my eyebrows. "And?" "She tried to spin it. Said you were being selfish and ruining her moment. Jason didn't buy it." Jayla paused, grinning wider. Then he said, "If she needed to escape this circus, maybe I should have gone with her." I nearly dropped my phone. "He said that?" "Word for word, babe." I let out a low whistle. "Wow." "Oh, and your mum, she told people you had food poisoning. Then someone showed her your post. She turned red. Like tomato red." I leaned back on the bed, laughing. "I should have done this years ago." Jayla nodded. "You're free now. How does it feel?" I looked around at the soft lighting, the spa menu on the nightstand, the sound of wind rustling through the trees outside. "Peaceful," I said. The next morning I got a massage, 90 minutes, hot stones. At one point I think I levitated. Afterward, I sat by the pool with a smoothie and let the sun warm every inch of my skin. I watched a lizard scurry across the patio and felt, for the first time in forever, completely still. Then I checked the group chat. "Patrick, update. Sienna flipped out when she realized your envelope wasn't in the gift box. She made Presley count them twice." Jayla, "She cornered your mum and asked where the money was. Your mum actually said maybe she finally got tired of being used." I blinked. "Me. Wait, Mom said that?" "Patrick." "Yup, out loud, in front of Aunt Denise." I stared at the screen, stunned. Maybe the spell had finally broken. Maybe when I walked away, I didn't just save myself. I showed everyone what Sienna really was. That night, I ordered room service and sat on the balcony with a glass of wine. I watched the sun melt behind the rocks and thought about how long I'd let guilt dictate my life. Not anymore. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to fight. I just needed to leave. And that, it turned out, was loud enough. Patrick called me from the parking lot of the reception, whispering like he was in a spy movie. "She's losing it." I put him on speaker and set the phone on the patio table next to my mimosa. "Define losing it," Patrick exhaled. "Okay, so first she tried to play it cool, acted like you were just running late. Then someone showed her the Instagram post. She froze, like full statue mode." I sipped my drink. "And?" "She stormed off. Presley followed her. 10 minutes later, they came back and started counting the envelopes." I laughed. "You're kidding." "Nope. Presley had a clipboard. I think she had a whole spreadsheet. They were whispering, flipping through cards, checking names. I could practically see it. Sienna in her sparkling white dress, flipping through wedding cards like a tax auditor." I leaned back in my chair, soaking in the Arizona sun. "So what happened when they realized mine was missing?" She said, and I quote, "Pearl must have mailed it. She's just being dramatic." I snorted. "Sure, that tracks." Then Jason walked over. My ears perked up. What did he say? He asked why you weren't there. Sienna said you bailed for attention. Jason didn't buy it. He said you told him at the rehearsal dinner you were excited. Then he asked Presley if you'd said anything to her. And Presley looked like she swallowed a lemon. She said, Pearl's always been weird. Nice. Jason didn't let it go. He said, did she give you guys money? Presley said no. Then he asked Sienna flat out, did you demand money from your sister? I sat up straighter. And what did she say? She said, she's family. She owes me. I blinked. She actually said that? Loudly, in front of the DJ? I burst out laughing. Oh my God, Patrick chuckled. Then Jason walked off. He hasn't spoken to her since. He's been talking to the best man and drinking straight whiskey. I shook my head. He's seeing it now. Everyone is. The bridesmaids were whispering about your post. One of them said, honestly, Pearl made the right call. I grinned. Tell them I said thanks. Oh, and your mum tried to cover for you again, told Aunt Denise you were sick with a stomach bug. Then someone showed her your post. She turned purple. Did she say anything? Patrick laughed. She said, that girl is going to kill me. Then she sat down and didn't move for 20 minutes. I stood up and stretched. Sounds like a great party. Oh, it gets better. During the cake cutting, Sienna tried to smile for photos but kept glancing at the gift table. Then she whispered something to Presley, who ran back and counted the envelopes. Again. Twice. 3 times now. I shook my head. She really thought I'd show up with a fat check and a fake smile. She underestimated you. I looked out at the red rocks glowing under the setting sun. She always did. An hour later, Jayla sent me a video. It was shaky, taken from behind a floral centerpiece, but the audio was clear. Sienna stood at the head table, wineglass in hand, wild-eyed. I just think it's funny, she said, voice rising, how some people, family, can't even show up for the most important day of your life. Jason stood next to her, stiff, arms crossed. Presley tried to pull her back. Babe, let's just... No, Sienna snapped. She made this about her. She's always been jealous, always needed to make everything about her. Someone in the background coughed. A few guests looked away. The DJ awkwardly turned the music volume down. Jayla's voice, off camera, whispered, "This is better than Netflix." By the time the reception ended, my phone was blowing up. Patrick. She cried in the bridal suite. Lock the door. Presley's trying to calm her down. Jayla. Jason left early, didn't even stay for the sparkler exit. Bridesmaid again. Pearl, you won the wedding. I opened our cousin group chat. Someone had changed the name to Pearl's Wedding Now. I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my drink. The next morning, I checked my phone while sipping coffee on the balcony. A new message had popped up in the anonymous group chat someone started for the bridal party. Unknown. That meltdown was iconic. Pearl actually won the wedding. Another. Is she single? Asking for my brother. Jayla. She's booked and busy, babe. I spent the rest of the day hiking, getting another massage, and eating a ridiculously overpriced avocado toast. I didn't check my phone again until sunset. There was one new message from an unknown number. Unknown. You hurt a lot of people. Hope it was worth it. I blocked it without replying. It was worth it. Every second. The wedding was over. The guests had gone home. The flowers were already wilting in their centerpieces. But Sienna, she was just getting started with her breakdown. I was lying face down on a massage table in Sedona, warm oil being poured down my back, when Jayla called. I usually wouldn't answer, but I had a feeling. I slid my phone off the side table and answered with a whisper. What now? Jayla didn't even say hello. She flipped out like full meltdown, screaming, crying, accusing people. I propped myself up on one elbow. At who? Everyone, she said. She accused Presley of stealing envelopes, said someone must have taken your card. I blinked. She really thinks I mailed her a check. She thinks someone stole the check you didn't give. I flopped back down and laughed into the massage table. Jayla kept going. She went down the list of guests, asking who gave what. She even asked Jason's aunt how much she put in the envelope. You're kidding. Not even a little. She said, I just need to know who actually supports me. Jason pulled her aside, and they had a full argument in the hallway. People heard everything. What did he say? He said, I married you, not your Venmo. Then he asked if she even cared about the day or just the money. I whistled. Ouch. She said, You don't get it. Pearl humiliated me. She made me look like a beggar. I sat up now, the massage forgotten. She made herself look like a beggar. Exactly. I grabbed a robe and walked out onto the balcony. So what now? Are they still married? Jayla hesitated. They're technically married, but Jason left the hotel last night. He booked a separate room. They haven't spoken since. I stared out at the desert. Wow, she's spiraling, Jayla said. Presley tried to calm her down, but Sienna turned on her too, said, You were supposed to manage this. You let her embarrass me. I snorted. She wanted a wedding planner, not a friend. Presley told her she was acting like a spoiled brat. Then she left. Presley left? Yep, took off her heels and walked out barefoot. It was kind of beautiful. I smiled. Karma's not always a thunderbolt. Sometimes it's a barefoot bridesmaid walking across a gravel driveway. Jayla laughed. You're a poet now? I'm relaxed. Well, enjoy it. You earned this. That night, I posted a photo of the sunset from my balcony. No caption, just light and sky and silence. People flooded the comments. Cousin Leah. This is the energy I want in my life. Jayla. Queen behaviour. Random groomsman. Wish I'd gone with you. I didn't respond to any of them. I didn't need to. Meanwhile, back home, Sienna was unravelling. Patrick sent me a voice memo the next day. She's calling everyone, trying to do damage control, told Aunt Denise you were mentally unstable and needed help. I rolled my eyes. She told Jason's mum you were jealous of her happiness. Jason's mum said, She looked pretty happy in Sedona. I laughed. She saw the post. Everyone saw the post. The next morning, I checked my email and saw a subject line that made me pause. Proposal. Book idea. Boundaries and burnout. It was from a small publishing house I'd submitted to months ago. I'd written a sample chapter about emotional labour in families, titled The Cost of Being the Responsible One. I opened the email. They wanted to offer me a deal. I sat there, stunned, the spa music still playing softly from my Bluetooth speaker. Jayla called right as I was processing it. Guess what? I said. What? I got a book deal. She screamed so loud I had to pull the phone away from my ear. Shut up! Shut up! I'm serious. Pearl, you're about to be a published author. And the family legend who skipped the wedding. You're unstoppable. I laughed. Feels like it. Jayla paused. So, what happens when you go back? I looked out at the mountains. I don't know, but I'm not scared of her anymore. That night, I took a long bath, poured myself a glass of wine, and scrolled through the anonymous group chat one last time. Someone had posted a meme, a photo of a woman walking away from a burning building with sunglasses on. Caption, Pearl walking out of the family group chat like... I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my phone. The comments underneath were even better. She didn't attend the wedding, but she gave us all a gift. I aspire to Pearl's level of peace. Honestly, she's the main character now. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. I just smiled, locked my phone, and went to bed. Sienna had always counted on me to be quiet, to keep the peace, to write the check. But this time, I chose myself. And that silence, it was the loudest thing I'd ever done. I was unpacking my suitcase when the doorbell rang. No knock, just the bell, sharp and impatient. I peeked through the peephole. Sienna. She stood there in flats and sunglasses, arms crossed, shoulders tense. I opened the door halfway, blocking most of the entry with my body. "Hi," I said. She pulled off her sunglasses like it was a dramatic movie scene. "We need to talk." I didn't move. "About what?" She pushed a breath through her nose. "You humiliated me." I tilted my head. "No, you did that yourself." Her jaw clenched. "You abandoned your family. You bailed on my wedding. You made me look like a fool." I leaned against the doorframe. "You screamed at me over a scrapbook, demanded money like it was owed. You look like a fool." She stepped forward, but I didn't move. I was stressed. Weddings are a lot. You blindsided me. I crossed my arms. "You asked for $2,000. You threw my gift in the trash." "I didn't throw it. You tossed it on the floor and called it arts and crafts." She blinked. "It wasn't about the gift, it was about the principle." I laughed. "Exactly. And the principle is, I'm not your ATM anymore." Sienna's face twisted. "You think you're better than me now?" "No," I said. "I think I'm done with you." That landed. She stepped back like I'd slapped her. "You didn't just skip the wedding," she said. "You made a show of it. You posted about it. You wanted people to talk." "No," I said. "I wanted peace. I just didn't care if people talked." She stared at me for a long second. Then her voice dropped. "Jason's not speaking to me." I didn't reply. "He said I embarrassed him, that I made the whole day about money." I raised an eyebrow. "Did you?" She didn't answer. "I'm not the villain here," she said, quieter now. "No," I said. "You're the consequence." Her eyes flashed. "So that's it? You're just walking away?" "I already did." She looked around like she might scream, but nothing came out. Just silence. She finally turned and walked back to her car. No goodbye, no apology. I closed the door and locked it. Later that afternoon, Jayla showed up with 2 coffees and a bag of croissants. "Tell me everything," she said, kicking off her shoes. "She came to the door," I said, handing her a napkin. "Tried to spin it, blamed me, said Jason's mad, still didn't apologize." Jayla bit into a croissant. "Of course not. Narcissists don't do accountability." "She said I made a show of it." Jayla snorted. "You made a statement." "There's a difference." I smiled. "She's unravelling." "She's exposed," Jayla corrected. "She's always been this way, now everyone sees it." I sat down on the couch. "She asked if I was just walking away." Jayla looked at me. "And you are, right?" I nodded. "Yeah, I am." She raised her coffee. "To walking away." I clinked my mug against hers. "To never going back." That night, I got an email from my editor. Subject: "Cover concept attached." I opened the file. The book title was in bold across a soft, minimalist background. "The Cost of Yes: How I Stopped Saving Everyone Else and Started Saving Myself." I stared at it for a long second, then clicked download. I sent the image to Jayla. She replied with a single word: chills. The next morning, I checked my mail. Bills, a coupon for a pizza place I never go to, and 1 small white envelope with no return address. I opened it slowly. Inside was a blank wedding thank you card, No message, no signature, just empty. I stared at it, then let out a laugh, short and sharp. I walked to my bookshelf, tucked it between two books, and stepped back. It sat there like a trophy, not of the wedding, of the win.
The crystal wine glasses clinked as Theodore raised his hand for a toast. Another Ward family dinner, another opportunity to remind me I didn't belong. I shifted uncomfortably in my designer dress, the one Roy insisted I wear to at least look the part. My name is Maria, and 3 years ago I married into what Boston's elite call old money. Tonight, like every month, I'm seated at an immaculate mahogany table, surrounded by people who see me as nothing more than a charity case their precious Roy picked up. "To family," Theodore announced, his voice carrying that distinctive Ward authority, "and to Roy's latest acquisition, bringing in record profits." Everyone beamed at my husband. I took a small sip, fighting the urge to drain the glass. "Speaking of acquisitions," Chiara chimed in, her perfectly manicured hand gesturing toward me. "Maria, how's that little online thing of yours going? Still selling social media tips?" I forced a smile. "It's a digital marketing consultancy, actually, and it's—" "Oh, that's right," she interrupted, turning to her mother. "Mum, remember when I tried selling makeup online in college?" So cute how these things never really work out. Roy chuckled, patting my hand condescendingly. "Honey, maybe it's time to focus on more realistic goals. The country club is always looking for event planners." "I appreciate the suggestion," I said quietly, cutting into my untouched salmon. The familiar burn of humiliation crept up my neck. Virginia dabbed her lips with a napkin. "Dear, there's no shame in admitting when something isn't working. We all have our limitations." I watched Theodore check his phone for the third time, his forehead creasing slightly. Something was off. He'd been making these subtle gestures all evening, checking his watch, exchanging glances with Roy. "Did you see the Matthews' new summer house?" Chiara continued, steering the conversation back to familiar territory. 12 bedrooms, though I suppose that's modest compared to our Hampton estate. I remembered when I first met Roy at a coffee shop downtown. He was different then, charming, interested in my dreams. He talked about building something together. Now he sat here, nodding along as his family reduced me to a cautionary tale. "Maria," Theodore's sharp voice cut through my thoughts. "Pass the salt, would you?" As I reached for it, his phone buzzed again. This time he stood abruptly. "Excuse me, I need to take this." The conversation lulled enough for me to hear snippets through the dining room door. Impossible. No, the numbers can't be right. Check again." Roy's expression flickered with concern, but he quickly masked it. "More wine, everyone?" I noticed Alyssa, Chiara's daughter, watching her grandfather with the same curiosity I felt. Smart kid. She caught my eye and gave me a small smile, the only genuine one I'd seen all evening. Theodore returned, his complexion slightly pale. "Where were we? Ah, yes, Roy's deal. Tell them about the Johnson merger, son." But something in his voice had changed. The unshakable Theodore Ward sounded nervous. After dinner, I lingered in the kitchen, helping the housekeeper despite Virginia's protests that it wasn't necessary. My phone buzzed, a message from Riley, my best friend and tech consultant. "Holy shit, check your email now." I excused myself to the powder room and opened the attachment. My hands trembled as I read the confidential financial report. Ward Holdings, the family's century-old empire, was hemorrhaging money. Their liquidity ratio was critical. Behind the mansion, the parties and the condescending smiles, they were months away from potential bankruptcy. Another message from Riley. "They're trying to keep it quiet. Only top-level executives know." I stared at my reflection in the gilded mirror, my mind racing. For 3 years, I'd smiled through their jabs while secretly building my company into something bigger than they could imagine. Now, fate had handed me the perfect opportunity. "Maria," Roy's voice carried through the door. Mother's serving dessert. Don't be rude. I took a deep breath, tucked my phone away, and opened the door. Coming, dear. Roy wrapped an arm around my waist, leading me back to the dining room. Try to participate more, okay? You're so quiet lately. People will think you're ungrateful. I leaned into him, playing my part. Of course. I'm just tired from working on my little online thing. He laughed, exactly as I knew he would. But for the first time, I didn't feel the sting. Instead, I felt something else. The beginning of a plan. My phone buzzed again in my clutch. Another message from Riley. There's more. Call me when you're alone. This is bigger than we thought. 7 figures? Riley nearly choked on her coffee. Maria, you've been holding out on me. We sat in my home office, far from Roy's prying eyes. Spreadsheets covered my monitors. Ward Holdings' financial statements on one screen, my company's growth metrics on another. I didn't want anyone to know, I said, pulling up another document. Especially not the family. Look at this. Their Asia-Pacific division is bleeding money, Riley whistled. And they have no idea you're making this kind of cash? Roy thinks I made $30,000 last year. I let him believe it. I leaned back in my chair. He's too busy bragging about his own deals to notice the statements. My phone lit up. Angel, my lawyer, calling right on schedule. Tell me you have good news, I answered. Better than good, Angel's voice crackled through the speaker. The shell company is set up. Clean, untraceable, exactly as we discussed. Are you sure about this? I glanced at the family photo on my desk, Roy and I on our wedding day. Absolutely sure. Then I'll start approaching their board members, quietly, of course. After hanging up, Riley spun in her chair. You know, most people just get divorced. This isn't about revenge, I lied. It's about opportunity. Right, she smirked. And the fact that you'll essentially become their boss has nothing to do with it. Before I could respond, I heard the front door open. Roy was home early. Quick, I whispered, closing the financial documents. Pull up that small business website we used as cover. Roy appeared in the doorway just as my screen changed. Still playing entrepreneur? He asked, loosening his tie. Just finishing up, I smiled. How was your day? Amazing. Dad closed another deal. We should celebrate. Dinner at the club. I stood, straightening my blouse. Actually, I have a client meeting. At this hour? He frowned. Since when do you have meetings? Since my little business started growing, I said sweetly. Don't wait up. The meeting wasn't with a client. Instead, I found myself in a sleek downtown office, sitting across from 3 Ward Holdings board members. Angel had arranged everything. Ms. Maria, the oldest member, leaned forward. Your offer is substantial. 51% ownership, Angel confirmed. Full voting rights. More than fair, given the company's current position. Theodore won't like this, another member warned. I kept my voice steady. Theodore doesn't need to know who's buying. Not yet. They exchanged glances. I could see the wheels turning, a mystery investor offering a lifeline when they desperately needed one. The paperwork is ready, Angel added, and the funds are in escrow. 2 hours later, I sat in my car, hands shaking slightly. 3 signatures. That's all it had taken to set everything in motion. My phone buzzed. Roy again. Where are you? Father's here. He wants to discuss something important. I drove home quickly, curious about what Theodore had to say. When I walked in, they were in Roy's study, doors closed. I pressed closer, listening. Mystery investor. Theodore's voice was strained. We might have to accept their terms. But 51%? Roy sounded shocked. Father, that's control of the company. We don't have a choice, Theodore snapped. The banks are circling. This investor, whoever they are, is our only option. I stepped back, composing myself, then walked loudly past the door to announce my presence. Maria, Roy called out, you're late. How was your meeting? Productive, I smiled. very productive. Theodore barely nodded at me, too preoccupied with his phone. He looked older somehow, worried lines creasing his forehead. "I should go," he said abruptly. "Roy, we'll discuss this more tomorrow." After he left, Roy poured himself a drink. "Rough day?" "Seems like it," I said carefully. "Everything okay at work?" "Just business stuff," he waved dismissively. "Nothing you'd understand. How's your little website coming along?" I thought about the signed contracts in Angel's office, about the millions I'd invested, about the power I now held over their entire empire. "Oh, you know," I shrugged. "Just taking it one day at a time." Roy patted my head like I was a child. "That's my girl. Small steps." My phone buzzed again, Angel confirming the final paperwork would be filed tomorrow. Soon, very soon, they'd all know exactly how small my steps had been. "I'm going to bed," I announced. "Coming?" "Later," Roy mumbled, already lost in his own thoughts. I climbed the stairs alone, smiling to myself. Let him worry about mystery investors. Let them all worry. The real shock was still to come. "So, Maria," Tiara's voice dripped with false sweetness, "tell us more about this exciting website of yours. Are you still teaching people how to use Facebook?" Another family dinner. The air felt heavier tonight. Theodore kept checking his phone. Virginia's smile seemed forced, and Roy couldn't stop fidgeting with his wedding ring. But Chiara, oblivious to the tension, continued her favourite sport, Maria baiting. "Actually," I started, "we've expanded quite a bit." "Oh!" Chiara interrupted, clapping her hands. "Are you selling cookies now? Roy mentioned something about an online store." The table erupted in practised laughter. Even the housekeeper smirked while serving the main course. "No cookies," I said quietly. "We provide digital marketing strategies for—" "Speaking of cookies," Roy jumped in, "remember when Maria tried to bring homemade ones to the country club Christmas party? What a disaster." Virginia touched her pearls delicately. "Oh dear, yes, the ladies still talk about that incident." I gripped my fork tighter, remembering how they'd mocked my attempt to fit in, to contribute something personal rather than store-bought. "At least she's trying," Theodore muttered, his eyes still glued to his phone. "Roy, we need to discuss that matter after dinner." Chiara wouldn't let up. "Trying is one thing, but really, Maria, it's time to face reality. These little online projects never amount to anything. Remember my friend Patricia? She tried selling jewellery on the internet. Now she's back living with her parents." "I'm actually doing quite well," I said, my voice stronger now. "Last month alone—" "Honey," Roy cut me off, patting my hand, "nobody wants to hear about click rates over dinner. Why don't you tell them about the new curtains you picked for the sunroom?" The familiar burn of humiliation crept up my neck. I stood abruptly, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. "Excuse me, I barely made it to the powder room before the tears came. Not sad tears, angry ones. Tears of frustration knowing that in less than 24 hours I could destroy them all with a single phone call. But still, their words cut deep. A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. "Go away, Roy," I called out, wiping my eyes. "It's Alyssa," a young voice replied. I opened the door to find Chiara's 12-year-old daughter standing there, holding a glass of water. "I thought you might need this," she said, offering the glass. "Mom can be intense." I accepted it with a grateful smile. "Thanks, kiddo." "I googled you, you know," Alyssa said quietly, glancing back to ensure no one was listening. "Your company, the real one, not the fake website you show them. You're kind of amazing." I froze. "Alyssa, don't worry," she grinned. "I won't tell. But I saw your interview in Digital Business Monthly, the one where you're photographed from behind. That was clever." "Smart kid. Too smart for this family." "Why don't you tell them," she asked, "about how successful you really are?" I leaned against the sink, considering her question. Sometimes it's better to be underestimated." Alyssa nodded sagely. "Like in chess, Let them think they're winning until they're not. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Angel's message made my heart skip. It's done. All signatures confirmed. You now own 51% of Ward Holdings. Call me. Maria! Roy's voice boomed from the dining room. Stop hiding and come back to dinner. Alyssa rolled her eyes. Uncle Roy can be such a... Language, I warned, but couldn't help smiling. I was going to say dinosaur, she smirked. Like all of them, living in the past, thinking they're better than everyone else. I squeezed her shoulder. You're different, Alyssa. Don't let them change that. We returned to the dining room where Kiara was mid-story about someone else's failed business venture. There you are, Roy frowned. You're being rude to our family. I sat down, suddenly calm. Let them have their jokes. Let them bask in their imagined superiority. In less than 24 hours, their whole world would turn upside down. I'm sorry, I said sweetly. Please, Kiara, continue your story. Well, as I was saying, she preened, some people just aren't cut out for success. They should stick to what they know. Across the table, Alyssa caught my eye and mimicked a chess piece tipping over. I bit back a smile. My phone buzzed again. Angel. Board meeting scheduled for tomorrow. Ready to show your hand. I typed back a single word. Ready. What are you smiling about? Roy demanded. I looked around the table, at Theodore's worried frown, Virginia's forced dignity, Kiara's smug smile, and Roy's entitled scowl. Oh, nothing, I said, just thinking about tomorrow. Sign here, Angel said, sliding the final document across her desk. And here, one more on the last page. My hand didn't shake as I signed. 3 years of condescension had steadied it perfectly. Congratulations, she smiled, checking her watch. As of 9 a.m, you officially own Ward Holdings. The board notification goes out in exactly 1 hour. I stood by the window of her downtown office, watching the morning traffic below. Has Theodore arrived at work yet? His assistant confirmed he's in his office, Angel nodded. Would you like me to patch through the video feed from the boardroom? I settled into a leather chair as Angel pulled up the security feed on her laptop. Theodore sat at the head of the table, scrolling through his phone. Board members filed in slowly, none meeting his eyes. The formal notice should hit his inbox now. On screen, Theodore's phone lit up. We watched as he read, his face draining of colour. He stood abruptly, loosening his tie. Play the audio, I whispered. Impossible, Theodore's voice crackled through the speaker. Who authorised this? It's all legal, Theodore, one board member said quietly. The paperwork is ironclad. But who? Theodore slammed his hand on the table. Who's behind this? The investor wishes to remain anonymous for now, another member explained, but they've assured us no immediate changes to day-to-day operations. My phone buzzed. Roy calling. I declined it. He's probably just heard, Angel mused. Theodore must have called him. Right on cue, Roy burst into the boardroom on screen. Father, what's happening? I turned off the feed. That's enough for now. Is everything else in place? Angel handed me a folder. New signatory rights, voting procedures, everything you need. You can reveal yourself whenever you're ready. I drove home slowly, savouring the moment. Roy's car wasn't in the driveway, still at the office, probably having a meltdown with Theodore. Inside, I changed into workout clothes and headed to my home gym. Might as well look busy when the storm hit. The front door slammed an hour later. Maria! I kept running on the treadmill as Roy stormed in, his face red. Where have you been? I've called 6 times. Working out, I gestured to the treadmill. What's wrong? Everything. He ran his hands through his hair. Some mystery investor just bought controlling interest in our company. Father's losing his mind. The board won't tell us who it is. I slowed the treadmill to a walk. That sounds serious. Serious? He laughed hysterically. It's a disaster. This investor could destroy everything we've built. Or save it, I thought, remembering the company's dire financial statements. I'm sure your father will figure something out, I said, toweling off. He always does. You don't understand, Roy snapped. Of course you don't. This is big business, Maria, not some little website. I bit back a retort. Soon enough, he'd understand exactly how much I comprehended about big business. My phone buzzed, Riley this time. Just saw the Business Wire announcement. You actually did it, you absolute queen. Who's that? Roy demanded. Just a client, I said smoothly. Speaking of work, I have a video call in 10 minutes. Seriously? Our family is in crisis and you're worried about your little social media projects. I headed for my office. We all have priorities, Roy. You've been different lately, he called after me. Cold, distant. What's going on with you? I turned, studying his face, the entitled frown, the accusatory stare. 3 years ago, I'd found it charming. Now it just looked small. Nothing's going on, I smiled. You'll know soon enough. I closed my office door on his confused expression and dialed Angel. The vultures are circling, she reported. 3 business newspapers have called, asking about the takeover. Theodore's secretary says he's cancelled all meetings for the week. Perfect, I said, pulling up my calendar. Schedule the reveal for Friday's family dinner. I want everyone there. Dramatic, Angel chuckled. I'll have the papers ready. Are you sure about this timing? Through the door I could hear Roy on the phone, probably with Theodore, his voice rising in panic. I've waited 3 years, I said quietly. I can wait 3 more days. After hanging up, I opened my laptop and pulled up Ward Holdings' internal system, my new access codes already working perfectly. Departments, budgets, personnel files, everything they'd never thought I'd see. A message popped up from Alyssa. Just heard Uncle Roy yelling at Grandpa on the phone. Something big happening. I smiled, typing back. You might want to come to dinner on Friday. Should be interesting. Checkmate, she replied. Almost, I wrote. Very almost. The Ward family mansion loomed before me as I pulled up in my Tesla, a recent purchase I'd kept hidden in a downtown garage. Angel's car followed close behind, right on schedule. Ready? She asked, briefcase in hand. I smoothed down my black Armani suit. Another secret indulgence. Born ready. Inside, voices drifted from the dining room. Everyone was already seated. Perfect. Maria, Roy called out. Is that you? You're late, and Father has important business to discuss. I paused in the hallway, taking a deep breath. Coming, dear. I brought a colleague. Now isn't the time for... Roy's voice died as Angel and I entered the room. Theodore sat at the head of the table, papers scattered before him. Virginia clutched her wine glass too tightly. Chiara was mid-eye roll, probably at my audacity to bring a guest. What's she doing here? Chiara pointed at Angel. This is a family dinner. Actually, Angel smiled, setting her briefcase on the table. I'm here in a professional capacity. Theodore's face darkened. You're the lawyer who filed the takeover papers. Guilty as charged, Angel said, pulling out documents. What is this? Roy stood, looking between Angel and me. Maria, what's going on? I took my usual seat, Angel standing behind me. Please, everyone, let's discuss this civilly. Theodore, you were about to tell the family about the new majority shareholder. Theodore's hands trembled slightly. How did you know about the mystery investor? I finished for him. I know quite a bit about it, actually. Chiara laughed nervously. What would you know about corporate takeovers? You can barely manage a Facebook page. Funny you should mention management, I said, nodding to Angel. She began distributing documents around the table. No, Theodore whispered, scanning the first page. This is impossible. Roy grabbed his copy. What? What's impossible? The shell company that purchased 51% of Ward Holdings, I said clearly, watching their faces. I own it. Silence crashed over the room. Even the housekeeper froze mid-pour. You, Chiara sputtered. This is a joke, right? Your little website? Roy laughed, but it sounded hollow. You expect us to believe my little website cleared 8 figures last year. I cut him off. While you were all making jokes about cookies and Facebook, I built an empire, one that's now large enough to buy controlling interest in yours." Virginia reached for her pearls. "Theodore, do something." "It's done, Virginia," Theodore said quietly, still staring at the papers. "She owns us." "Not quite," I corrected. "I saved you. Check the books. You were 3 months from bankruptcy. I prevented that. You're welcome." Roy's face had turned an interesting shade of purple. "You went behind my back? Your own husband?" "Like you went behind mine every time you laughed at my ambitions?" I asked softly. "Every time you dismissed my work? Every time you treated me like a charity case?" "This is outrageous!" Chiara stood, her chair scraping back. "We're your family." "No," I said. "You're my husband's family, and you never let me forget it." From the corner, Alyssa watched with barely concealed delight. She caught my eye and gave a tiny thumbs up. "The board meeting on Monday will formalize everything," Angel explained professionally. "Maria will assume her role as a majority shareholder and board chair." Theodore seemed to age years in minutes. "You planned this all along." "No," I said honestly. "I planned to succeed despite you all. The opportunity to buy Ward Holdings was just karma." Roy slumped in his chair. "All those nights you were working late." "I was working late, building something real, something you could have been part of if you'd bothered to look past your own prejudices." Virginia dabbed at her eyes with a napkin. "This will ruin us socially. Only if people find out you've been rescued by the woman you ridiculed," I pointed out. "I'm happy to keep that quiet, for now." "What do you want?" Theodore asked hoarsely. "Want?" I smiled. "I have what I want. Control of the company, a seat at the table, and the pleasure of watching you all realize just how wrong you've been." Chiara grabbed her purse. "This is insane. I'm leaving." "Sit down," I said quietly. "We haven't discussed the new management structure yet. You'll want to hear this part." She sat. Roy reached for my hand. "Darling, we can talk about this." I pulled away. "No, Roy, we're done talking. Now we're doing business." Angel opened her briefcase again. "Shall we begin?" I looked around the table at their shocked faces, the mighty Wards, finally silenced. "Yes," I said. "Let's begin." "You can't do this!" Ciara slammed her hand on the table. "I've run the Asia-Pacific division for 5 years." "Into the ground," Angel corrected, sliding another document forward. "The numbers don't lie." "These changes are effective immediately," I continued. "Theodore will step down as CEO, remaining only as a consultant. Ciara, you're being reassigned to regional sales." "Regional sales?" she practically shrieked. "That's entry level." "Consider it a fresh start," I said calmly. "A chance to learn the business properly this time." Roy hadn't spoken for several minutes, just staring at his water glass like it held answers. Virginia had progressed from dabbing tears to openly sobbing. "You're destroying everything my father built," Theodore growled. "No," I met his gaze. "I'm saving everything you nearly lost. The company's stock has dropped 60% under your leadership. Client relationships are in shambles. The only thing holding it together was your family name, and that's not enough anymore." Alyssa, who'd been quietly watching from her seat, spoke up. "Is that why you cancelled my equestrian lessons last month, Mum?" "Because we're broke?" Chiara flushed. "Alyssa, be quiet. The company will undergo a complete restructuring," Angel continued professionally. "New department heads, new procedures, new accountability measures." "And what about me?" Roy finally spoke, his voice hard. "Planning to demote your husband too?" I took a slow sip of water. "That depends entirely on you, Roy. Are you ready to actually work for your position?" He stood so quickly his chair toppled backward. "Work for it? I've given everything to this company." "No," I corrected. "You've taken everything from this company. There's a difference." "How dare you?" Virginia found her voice. "After everything we've given you—" "Given me?" I laughed. "Let's review what you've given me. 3 years of mockery, constant belittlement, public humiliation at every family event. We accepted you, Chiara shot back. No, you tolerated me. There's a difference there too. Theodore rubbed his temples. What do you really want, Maria? Money? Power? Name your price. I already have money, I said quietly. More than you know. As for power, I gestured to the papers before them. I already have that too. You've gone mad, Roy declared, power-hungry and delusional. Actually, Alyssa piped up again, I think she's brilliant. Alyssa, Chiara snapped. What? She is! While everyone was making fun of her, she built something huge, and now she owns your company. That's like total boss move. I couldn't help smiling. Thank you, Alyssa. This is a nightmare, Virginia moaned. What will people say? They'll say whatever we tell them, I replied. I'm happy to keep this transition quiet, maintain the family's public image, but that courtesy depends entirely on your cooperation. Roy laughed bitterly. Blackmail now? Business, I corrected. Something you claim to understand. Angel cleared her throat. The press release goes out Monday morning. We can frame this as a mutual decision, a strategic partnership. Or it can be what it really is, I finished. A hostile takeover after years of mismanagement. The room fell silent again. Theodore stared at his hands. Chiara's mascara had started to run. Virginia looked like she might faint. I'll need your office cleared by Monday, I told Theodore. He aged 10 years before my eyes. My office? You can use one of the smaller ones on the 3rd floor for your consulting work. Roy suddenly grabbed his keys. I need air. Roy, I called after him. We're not finished here. Oh, we're finished, he snarled, turning back. You've made that perfectly clear. I'll have my lawyer contact yours about divorce proceedings. I felt a twinge in my chest, but kept my face neutral. If that's your choice. He stormed out, the front door slamming behind him. Well, Ciara stood, gathering her things. I hope you're happy. You've torn this family apart. No, Chiara. Your family's superiority complex did that long ago. I just exposed it. Mom, Alyssa said suddenly. Can I stay here tonight? I want to talk business with Aunt Maria. Chiara looked like she'd been slapped. Without another word, she grabbed her daughter's arm and left. Theodore and Virginia followed shortly after, leaving me alone with Angel. That went well, she said dryly. I stared at the empty chairs, the half-eaten dinner, the scattered papers. Did it? You got everything you wanted. Did I? Angel squeezed my shoulder. Having second thoughts? I picked up Roy's discarded wedding ring. He must have slipped it off before leaving. No, I said firmly. No second thoughts. Just consequences. Want company tonight? I shook my head. No, I need to get used to this. The quiet, the aftermath. After Angel left, I sat alone in the dining room, surrounded by the debris of the Ward family's perfect world. My phone buzzed. A text from Alyssa. That was epic. Don't let them make you feel bad. You're my hero. I smiled despite everything. At least someone understood. Maria, my assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. Roy's here to see you. I glanced at the clock, exactly 2 weeks since the revelation dinner. Send him in. Roy entered my new office, Theodore's old one, looking dishevelled. His usual perfectly pressed suit was wrinkled, his hair unkempt. Nice view, he said, gesturing to the floor-to-ceiling windows. Father always loved this office. I know, that's why I took it. I kept typing, not looking up. What do you want, Roy? He sank into a chair. I've been thinking maybe we acted hastily. We? About the divorce, about everything. He leaned forward. We could still make this work. Together. Think about it, with your business acumen and my connections. I finally met his eyes. Interesting timing. Right after the quarterly reports showed a 15% increase under my leadership. He flushed. That's not fair. I'm trying here. No, you're adapting. There's a difference. I stood, walking to the window. How's the apartment hunting going? It's challenging. Look, Maria, I know I made mistakes. Mistakes? I turned sharply. Is that what we're calling years of systematic belittlement now? I was wrong. He stood too. Is that what you want to hear? I was wrong about you, about your capabilities, but I'm man enough to admit it. Man enough? I laughed. 2 weeks ago, you called me a power-hungry psychopath. What changed? Oh, right, the stock price. My phone buzzed. Kiara's name flashing on the screen. I declined the call. She's been trying to reach you, Roy said. Everyone has. I know. Theodore left 6 voicemails yesterday about family loyalty and reasonable compromises. Can you blame them? You've upended everything. No, I corrected. I fixed everything. The Asia-Pacific division is already recovering under new management. Client confidence is up. Even the board approves of the changes. Roy ran his hands through his hair. And what about us? Our marriage? Our marriage died long before I bought the company, I said quietly. You just didn't notice because you were too busy looking down at me. I loved you. No, you loved the idea of me. The pretty wife from humble beginnings who knew her place. The moment I outgrew that role, you checked out. My assistant buzzed again. Your interview with Business Weekly is in 10 minutes. Thanks, Sarah. I gathered my papers. We're done here, Roy. The divorce papers are with Angel. Sign them. Maria, please. Security will show you out. I pressed the intercom. Sarah, please call escort services for Mr. Ward. He straightened his jacket, a flash of the old Roy emerging. You'll regret this. Pushing away family. They were never my family. You made sure of that. After he left, I took a moment to compose myself before the interview. My phone buzzed again. Alyssa this time. Mom's crying in her new office. Regional sales is beneath her dignity, apparently. I smiled despite myself. How's she really doing? Actually selling stuff for the first time in her life. It's hilarious. Also, can we do lunch next week? I have questions about digital marketing. Absolutely. Don't tell your mother. Duh. Oh, and Grandpa's started drinking at lunch. Just FYI, I sighed. Thanks for the intel, kiddo. The interview went smoothly. I kept my answers professional, focusing on the company's turnaround rather than the family drama. The reporter seemed disappointed. But surely there's more to the story, she pressed. A mysterious investor revealed to be the CEO's daughter-in-law. The story, I said firmly, is about business transformation, not personal relationships. After she left, Riley called. Just saw the stock ticker. You're crushing it. The company was always solid, I replied. It just needed proper management. And speaking of management, guess who just applied for a junior position? No. Yes, Xiara's resume landed this morning. Want me to accidentally delete it? I thought for a moment. No, let her interview. Let her earn something for once. You're nicer than I'd be. Looking out over the city, I watched the sunset paint the buildings gold. Not nice, strategic. She needs to learn. They all do. And Roy, I heard he came crawling back. He tried. I touched my bare ring finger. Some things can't be fixed with money or power. You okay? I considered the question, watching my reflection in the window. Designer suit, corner office, complete control. I'm exactly where I should be. My phone buzzed one last time, another voicemail from Theodore. I deleted it without listening. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. Delete it, Riley urged, sprawled across my office couch. You don't need to keep torturing yourself. I stared at my phone, thumb hovering over Roy's old voicemail. The timestamp showed 3 years ago, the night after that infamous cookie incident at the country club. You're right, I said, but didn't press delete. Play it one last time if you need to, Riley suggested. Then let it go. I hit play, setting it on speaker. Maria, you've embarrassed me again. Homemade cookies at the club? Mother was mortified. Sometimes I wonder if you'll ever understand our world. Call me when you're ready to apologise. Riley made a gagging sound. What did you ever see in him? Before I could answer, my assistant buzzed. Kiara's here for her quarterly review. Send her in. Chiara entered, different from the polished socialite she'd been 6 months ago. Her designer clothes were replaced with practical business wear, her attitude notably subdued. "Sales figures," she said, placing a folder on my desk. "Up 12% in my region." "Impressive," I noted, scanning the numbers. "Your client retention rate is particularly strong." I actually enjoy the work," she admitted, looking pained. "Building relationships, solving problems. It's satisfying. More satisfying than cocktail parties and charity galas." She smiled slightly. "Surprisingly, yes." "Good, keep this up, and we'll discuss expanding your territory next quarter." After she left, Riley whistled. That was almost civil. "She's learning, they all are." I picked up my phone again, looking at the voicemail. Even Theodore sent a congratulatory note after the merger announcement. "Speaking of announcements," Riley grinned. "Have you seen today's Business Weekly?" She tossed the magazine on my desk. My company's latest acquisition, a major tech firm, made the cover. The photo showed me clearly this time, no more hiding in shadows. "The mysterious Maria reveals all," Riley read dramatically. "From ridiculed outsider to business powerhouse. Love it." My phone buzzed. Alyssa calling. "Hey, superstar," she said when I answered. "Saw the magazine. Mum's pretending to be annoyed, but I caught her showing it to her sales team." "How's the internship going?" "Amazing. Your digital team is teaching me so much. Also, Mum actually apologized yesterday, like a real apology, not her usual backhanded stuff." "Progress?" I smiled. "Oh, and heads up, Dad's engaged. Some socialite from Newport, thought you should know." I felt nothing, no pain, no regret. "Good for him." After hanging up, I finally looked at Roy's voicemail again. "Do it," Riley encouraged. "It's time." I pressed delete. The message disappeared, taking the last remnant of my old life with it. "Feel better?" Riley asked. "Feel free," I corrected. My assistant buzzed again. "Your 4 o'clock is here. The startup founders. Send them in." 2 young women entered, clutching business plans and looking nervous, exactly as I had once looked pitching to investors. "Ladies," I gestured to the chairs. "I hear you have an interesting proposition." "Yes," the younger one stammered, "though some investors said we're too inexperienced." "Tell me anyway," I interrupted. "Sometimes the best ideas come from unexpected places." They shared a hopeful glance, spreading their materials across my desk. "We'll need about an hour," Riley stood. "Dinner after?" "Can't. Mentoring session with Alyssa's Young Entrepreneurs Club." "Look at you," Riley smirked. "Building empires and lifting others up. Who'd have thought?" After she left, I turned back to the nervous founders. "Now, show me what everyone else was too blind to see." As they began their presentation, I caught my reflection in the window, confident, powerful, at peace. No more fake smiles or silent fury. No more pretending to be less to make others feel more. The young women's enthusiasm reminded me of myself, of dreams dismissed and potential denied. But unlike the wards, I'd never make the mistake of underestimating hunger and determination. My phone buzzed one final time, Theodore's name flashing. Once, that would have filled me with dread. Now it was just another business call. "Sorry," I told the founders, declining it. "You have my full attention." They beamed, launching into their pitch with renewed confidence. Outside my office, the city sparkled in the fading light. Somewhere out there, the wards were adapting to their new reality. Chiara was learning humility through honest work. Theodore was accepting his reduced role. Roy was building a new life with someone else. And me, I was exactly where I belonged. Not as the outsider they'd mocked, but as the force they'd never seen coming. So, I smiled at the hopeful founders. "Tell me about your dreams."